And there we go. Welcome into the Rant from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery in the Dallas's premier arts and design district, Dragon Street. I'm Pugs Moran. I do this every day here around about noon. Thank you so much for indulging me today. A little bit late. I like to tell you from time to time that Fridays are going to be sometimes a little bit. I tend to have more things going on in the morning on Fridays than on other days. So yeah, you know, that's just how it works. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. Got a full day for you. A stream of consciousness rant concerning all the issues that are affecting us today. We do this show every day, noonish, usually. Like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff, please. Been doing it every day for about 3 years now. Consistency. That's the fool's gold in all of this. And I appreciate each and every one of you in the chat room who's hung out with us every day since then. I'd like to throw a special shout out to one of you today. Look at that. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I got a gift. Got a gift today. Oh, shit. It's not plugged in. Oh, wait. We can plug it in. Hold on. I can plug it in right here. Boom. Look at this. This comes from our frequent executive producer and longtime friend of the show, co-collaborator. Look at it. Okay, now, now that thing is on it. Look at our sign. We got a new sign. That's from Peter. Peter had that made. Dude, thank you. That is awesome. Look at that. Couldn't be happier. So we're going to display that proudly. Just haven't found a secure place for it yet. So that'll be up and running very soon. Peter was kind enough to suggest that I could just take it and I could put it in my place and all that kind of stuff. But no, man, I got to find a way to display that in the studio. So thank you so much. Hi, Leslie. Leslie's here. Let's say hi to the people early. And hi, Leslie. Hiya, Kim. Hiya, Byron. Hiya, CC. Sports Bras. Jeff. Let's keep going here. I saw Toronto was in here first. I saw Jeff earlier. I know I lost a couple people from the earlier stream. I jumped on earlier to say, hey, guys, I'm sorry. I know I accidentally scheduled the show for 12:15. We're not going to make 12:15. So here we are. All right. What is this show? I see some new people. I'm now on Blue Sky. Everybody seems to be flocking over to Blue Sky. I'm not there for any particular reason other than everybody seems to be flocking over to Blue Sky. So I went over there. Some new Blue Sky friends I've seen the last couple of days. Isn't that nice? Growth is what we're after here on the RadioMisfits.com live stream. Sorry, I got the news on off to my left. I'm a little distracted by something that they're showing. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Apparently, they're giving late-night TV shows away still. I didn't even know there were late-night TV shows. Apparently, you know, Jason Kelsey is getting in on the David Letterman game. We'll have to, we'll investigate that. Sorry, it's undistracted. What is with these guys? Look, I got to tell you, I'm about done with NFL brother duos, okay? I'm done with them. Whether it's the Manning cast, whether it's the Bosas, or who are the other ones? The Watts. Actually, I kind of like the Watts. I like the Watts. But the Mannings and the Kelseys and the Bosas, I'm done with you guys. Although I do concede that the Manning cast is excellent. You know who ought to be given just $1 million today? Here's $1 million. The person who sat in a room and told some old man who started working at ESPN or Monday Night Football back in the 1980s, told some old man, here's what we ought to do. How about a counter live stream? And how about we get some interesting former player to do live in-game play-by-play? I'm telling you, that kid who came up with that idea, who pitched that idea, give him $1 million today. Because although I do not watch the Madden cast, I do recognize serious innovation when I see it. And that has changed. Everybody does live stream now for games, counter streams of the actual broadcast. The Mannings started it, and they proved it, could be done, and people would watch. So good for them. Let's talk a little bit now, small talk segment. We start the show. The show is in 4 quarters, okay? So over the next couple of hours, it's going to play out in 4 segments. The first one is a look back at this day in history. We cherry pick things that happened on this day, and I tell you about them, and then I rant on them for a little bit. Birthdays come next. That's quarter 2. Quarter 3 is deads, people who died on this day. Where'd they go? Heaven or hell? See, we have fun. Quarter 4, that's all the day's heads. Ex-girlfriend of actor Jonathan Majors drops lawsuit. Oh, I wonder if he'll get his career back. Probably not. All right, more breaking news. It's also what we do here. Breaking news comes across. We'll tell you about it first. Well, at least it's first as far as we're concerned. And unless somebody else told you before, then we wouldn't be first. Quarter 4 is all the hot topics, current events, and all that good stuff. Before we get into any of that, I like to do a little small talk segment. Just me and you, me in the chat room. We hang out. Usually about what happened last night. Here's what I want to talk about from last night. Okay? Small talk. You guys watched Thursday Night Football last night? You had the Cleveland Browns, the 2-8 Cleveland Browns taking on the 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers, and it didn't seem like all that interesting of a game, but hey, I watched anyway because I'm that way. Of course, I thought that I was going to get to see a classic AFC North matchup between two teams, and I assumed that the Steelers were just going to beat the crap out of the Browns. But what do you do when two teams that are lifelong rivals get together? You throw out the expectations, and that's exactly what happened last night. Last night was a very enjoyable game, but not because of the plays or the strategy of a Mike Tomlin or the defensive excellence of a Myles Garrett. No, because it was Blizzard football. Yeah. Now I've had over the years conversations with people before about Blizzard football. And, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of football purists are like, no, it changes the game. It's unfair. That's not football. I'm like, yeah, it is. That's football. Football's supposed to be played outside. Football is supposed to be a part of the environment. You want to play it in a dome, that's fine. Enjoy your 75-yard field goals. I'd rather play it in the cold, outside. Then again, I'm a Midwestern kid, so that's where I played football in November and December for probably 15 years as a kid, and half of those games, I'd say, were played in temperatures below 32 degrees. A lot of times in snow, a lot of times in, crazy winter weather. I love it. Now, the argument here, and we saw it last night, the argument is it's sloppy football. I would argue that's not sloppy. That's fun football, okay? That is crazy fun. Anything can go. There is never a more even playing field. You like parity in the NFL? Play all your games in a blizzard. You will have parity. There are no advances for anybody, and it's just all rules are out the window. There's fumbles. There's turnovers. The balls are going everywhere. I love blizzard football. Now, granted, I don't know that I would love blizzard football if it were played 17 weeks a year, because now there is no sport. There is no, for lack of a better term, there is no art to an offensive drive, or there is no art to a defensive stand. Now, it's just snow, but I enjoyed that game last night, man. I enjoyed that game. I'll tell you something. Look, I've never been a Russell Wilson hater. I've always thought he was maybe a little bit douchey, but I've never been a Russell Wilson hater. Then I'm a Justin Fields guy. I love Justin. I can't wait to see him finally get his due somewhere, and he will. So I was rooting for the Steelers, and then the blizzard came. I'll tell you, early in the first quarter, the first half actually, before the blizzard came, I thought the Steelers had the running game down. I thought the Steelers offense was looking better. I thought, and you underestimate the Browns because they got Jameis Winston. And then I realized I still love Jameis Winston. I like Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not a bad guy. Jameis Winston is a fun guy. He's a cool guy. He's bounced around the league. He had big hype when he came out. He had a couple of good years. 30 interceptions in Tampa. And then they move on to Tom Brady. But I like Jameis, and there is a part of me that's like, are we seeing Jameis Winston being added to this weird sort of renaissance of cast-aside quarterbacks that is now the norm in the league? The cast-aside quarterback that the experts say is a bust is now starting for about half the league, and maybe Jameis Winston is the latest name. I'm talking about like your Geno Smiths, hell, even to some degree, your Jared Goffs. Jared Goff was a throw-in from the Rams. The Rams were like, yeah, I guess you're going to need a quarterback here. Take this guy. Or Darnold, You've got Baker. Baker Mayfield's a great example of it. Anyway, I really like Jameis Winston, so I was happy for him. The Browns stunned, the 2-8 Browns stunned the 8-2 Steelers last night in an absolute snowstorm of a game that was just magical. It was awesome. And I'm wondering, oh, just shut up, Adam. You know, Adam's just got to insult you every fucking time. You don't have to fucking counter that I'm a fan of somebody, Adam. It's not required. Except from you, I do kind of like it. Because, you know, it's a trigger. Yeah, so anyway, that's I thought that was a great game. People, I was listening to the morning radio today, and people are like, I don't like snow football. And I'm wondering if maybe that really is just because of where I'm from. Just because football to me is supposed to be cold, and it's supposed to be, you know, slippery and all of that. At least half the games, when you get to the second half of the season, it's like, oh, it's going to snow tonight. We still playing? Yeah, you play in the snow. There ain't no such thing. I did see a game canceled once because of snow, and it was like snow lightning. It was like a snow lightning. Lightning, I guess, is the overarching factor there. Anyway, there you go. Adam says, I've got to insult you. Yeah, you do. It's all right. We understand. There's an understanding between me and Adam. I'd say me and Jeff. Hopefully me and Jeff. Me and Barney. Me and Byron. All of my regular pals in the chat room that I'm comfortable enough to tell them that they're fucking idiots. You know, all of those guys. All right, I got to stop being distracted by what's on TV. What do you say we get started? It's already late. Let's get started. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It is the Rant with me, Pugs Moran, every day here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery in the Design District. It is the 22nd day of November, year of our Lord, 2024. Did you know? Yeah. 327 days. This is the 327th day of the year. That means there are only 39 days remaining until the end of said year. What do you say we get started with that first quarter? We like to call it Antecedently on This Day. You can call it This Day in History, or if you like, Previously on November the 22nd. All right, here we go. Quick run through a few events that happened on this day. 1942, World War II, the Battle. Not hiccups. Hold on. Wait a second. That was a burp. That was a burp, and I spared you. I muted the microphone. You didn't have to hear it. It was a big burp. On this day in 1942, World War II occurred. Just on this day. I don't know if you know that. World War II, it happened on one day. No, Battle of Stalingrad was going on. On this day in 1942, General Frederick Paulus sends Adolf Hitler a telegram saying that the German 6th Army is surrounded. I don't know how much you know about the Battle of Stalingrad. There's been a number of movies, books, documentaries, whatever. Hell on earth is essentially what both sides went through. Probably I think the Battle of Stalingrad, well, because now I'm thinking there are other famous battles, but the Battle of Stalingrad is probably one of the best and most well-documented battles in the history of battles. Anyway, and of course, because happened in 1942 and not 820 AD, but you know, still. Antecedently on this day, also in World War II, the Cairo Conference occurs. This is the, we know about Malta. We know about all of these things. Cairo is when Roosevelt, Churchill, and Chinese Premier Chiang Kai-shek got together in Cairo to talk about the Japanese problem. By the way, can I just say, I love it. Look at us hanging out with the Chinese. Look at how we're hanging out with the leader of China. They weren't as big a player in World War II as I think the China of today would have liked to have been, historically speaking. They were kind of under the thumb of Japan. Imagine that. China, people, this historically speaking, Japan has like ruled mainland China many times. Isn't that crazy? China is my entire torso, okay? My entire torso, from here to just a big giant chunk of land. And then Japan is like a thumb, and they dominated them. Cairo conferences on this day in 1943. Okay, here we go. On this day in 1963, United States President John Fitzgerald Kennedy is assassinated. You know what happened. Texas Governor John Connally is seriously wounded by Lee Harvey Oswald, who also kills Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit after fleeing the scene. United States President Lyndon Baines Johnson is sworn in as the 36th president of these here United States. Okay. Whoa, no, wait, not even. Wait, I don't know, this whole thing. All right, no thoughts on the Kennedy assassination. We're not going to talk about the Kennedy assassination. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about this day from a different perspective. I'm here in Dallas. Many of us are here in Dallas. The bulk of us here are Dallas-Fort Worth people. And I often wonder if, I'll put it to you this way. When I landed in this town, my very first trip to Dallas, when CBS was trying to hire us, we were in the airport, or we were in, they sent a limousine to us to the airport. So we were in the limousine and we were with the regional, whatever, whoever the guy is, whoever he was at the time, I don't know, the big guy at CBS. So we're going to, being driven to the station, we're going to be shown everything, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I'll never forget this guy saying to me, have you ever been to Dallas before? And I said, no, I haven't. I've never been to Texas. I stopped over in Houston once for 45 minutes, but it was just to catch another plane. That was my experience with Texas. And he looked at me and he said, well, this is Dallas. This isn't Texas. It's different. This is a city that defines itself exclusively by two things, a football team and the murder of a president. And I thought, wow. And ever since then, it has kind of stuck on me. And I'm wondering if people who live their whole lives here and are a part of the fabric of the culture of what Dallas is, do you guys realize that the singular defining event in this city's history is the Kennedy assassination? You talk to somebody from Indiana and you say, yeah, I moved to Dallas. The first thing they're going to say is Kennedy assassination. It's not going to be Cowboys. It's not going to be J.R. Ewing. It's not going to be oil. None of that stuff. I just thought that was interesting because my very first trip here, somebody looked me dead in the eye and said, look, this is a city that defines itself by two things, a football team and the murder of a president. And I was just sort of stunned by that. I was like, wow, that's it? And he's like, yep, that's all this town is about. And that was a person who was born and raised here. So I'm wondering, is that sort of the way? Do people in Dallas, do you recognize the global event that was, or was it just something that happened here and you wonder if other people on this day antecedently, as we say, November the 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy is assassinated here, Dealey Plaza. I do think it's cool. I lived for a while right down the street from Dealey Plaza, walking distance. I mean, preferred walking distance, because when you live in downtown Dallas, the only, and you have a dog, there's very few places to walk that dog. So I used to walk my dog, Blue, every night over at Dealey Plaza. Would walk all the way down Pacific Avenue over to Dealey Plaza and then walk all the way back. That was her walk. And she used to take shits on the Dealey Plaza. And, I'd clean it up, of course, because I'm a good citizen. But all that stuff. And it always struck me on those days, even though it was a daily thing, it always struck me. I'm like, this is a mundane activity that I'm participating in, the walking of my dog. But it's occurring at a very sacred place, a very important place. My son took some of his first steps at Dealey Plaza because I want to film that. I was like, I think it'd be cool. He started walking. I'm like, let's get him walking around Dealey Plaza. I thought that would be a cool historic thing. So we videotaped it. I lost it. I don't know where it is. I don't know. Maybe the mom's got it. Maybe in the divorce. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by that. The other thing about Dealey Plaza that I love about people from Dallas, when you move here like me, and of course I lived close to Dealey Plaza, so it was my neighborhood. But when you come to Dallas, like, I'm going to Dallas for the weekend, I'm gonna go visit my buddy Pugs. All of my friends who came down here, the first thing is they want to see the Kennedy place. Every tourist that comes to Dallas, they want to see the Kennedy place. It's the biggest tourist destination. It's the only real tourist destination, maybe AT&T Stadium, I don't know. But it's the only real thing that people come to see here. And it's kind of like the Sears Tower in Chicago, in that when people visit Chicago, they always go to the Sears Tower. We're going to the Sears Tower. Most people in Chicago have never been to the Sears Tower. It's just a building in their town. Like, yeah, I never really had a reason to go there. You know why? Because you were never a tourist in your own town. And I know that with a lot of people here in Dallas and Fort Worth, for that matter, as well. They've never been to Dealey Plaza. Never been to the Texas Book Depository. Never been to the fifth floor museum? Sixth floor museum? Maybe it's on 2 floors. I don't know. I would suggest that every single one of you who live in the DFW area who has never been to one of these or that place, go be a tourist in your own city. Experience the way Dallas is presented to tourists from around the world. It's actually kind of cool, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. There you go. All right. Antecedently on this day in the year 1990, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher withdraws from the Conservative Party leadership, confirming the end of her prime ministership. I'm not a historian on Margaret Thatcher. I know the basics. Yeah, I love the movie with Meryl Streep playing the Iron Lady. That was cool. I love those kinds of movies. Antecedently on this day in 2014, while playing with a toy gun in Cleveland, 12-year-old African-American Tamir Rice is killed by a white police officer. What happened with that? Now, it probably just went away, right? Nobody did anything. That's one of the rough ones from the last couple of years that we all had to make our way through. All right, let's keep going. Birthdays. Let's talk about some people who are celebrating birthdays today. They say it's their birthday. I have no way of knowing for sure. I didn't talk to their mothers or check the county clerks in the places they were born. I just am reading published reports. Let's do some birthdays. What do you say? Born on this day, 1921. Now, what I like to say is, before we do the birthdays, the thing that we're considering with birthdays when we mention these people is, what are we going to do? We wish them a happy birthday? Or are we like, yeah, fuck you, that guy sucks? That's kind of how we do it here. Our first birthday, he's getting a happy birthday. This guy don't suck. This guy rules. Ladies and gentlemen, born on this day in 1921, one of the funniest people God ever created, one of the funniest joke writers in the history of the world, Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah, man. Rodney, born on this day in 1921. Rodney didn't really make it until the early 80s. Rodney, God, he's such a fascinating story, and he is an inspiration to any of you out there who feel like it's taken just a little bit too long to get to your dreams. Rodney Dangerfield essentially wasn't successful until he was like 60. Rodney was a door-to-door salesman. Rodney's real name, Rodney Dangerfield, is obviously not his real name, although I don't know why I say obviously. It's not a particularly cool name. Rodney Dangerfield was born Jack Roy. Actually, he was born Jacob Roy Cohen. Jack Roy is the name that Rodney Dangerfield used as a door-to-door aluminum siding salesman for like 40 years. In like 30 years of his life. He was a salesman, a door-to-door salesman who went by the name of Jack Roy. It also needs to be mentioned, maybe the reason that Rodney didn't immediately jump into celebritydom or the comedy world at such a high level is because Rodney Dangerfield, or Jack Roy, was the best salesman that this company had ever had. This guy, Rodney, never struggled. Rodney was making money hand over fist selling aluminum siding or whatever the hell it was that he was selling. I mean, could you imagine? It's 1962, right? And you get a knock on the door and it's fucking Rodney Dangerfield. Now, I don't mean you'd be impressed because he wasn't famous yet, but what I mean is that personality is at your door trying to sell you something. I'm buying. That guy's the best. Rodney Dangerfield didn't even really go into serious stand-up comedy and making it a thing until much later in life. And he is definitely a comedy icon in this country. The great Rodney Dangerfield, born on this day in 1921. You're goddamn right we're wishing him a happy birthday. Born on this day in 1923, film director. You know, I like to stop down and just sort of talk about some of the creations that these film directors have had. Arthur Hiller, born on this day. Now Arthur Hiller is not Martin Scorsese or Robert Altman or Francis Ford Coppola, really, but he's one of these guys in the next tier, okay? He is one of these guys who has consistently, over the course of like a 50, 60-year film career, made some incredibly forgettable, Some incredibly unforgettable films. All right, let's start. Let's see. What is Arthur Hiller? What did he give us? Okay, so 1970. He does 2 movies in 1970. He releases 2 films in 1970. The Out of Towners with isn't that Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine, a massive hit, iconic. And then the second movie he did in 1970 was Love Story. Like the 2 biggest movies of 1970, basically. What else did he do? He did The Hospital, which is not a very well-known film, but critically acclaimed up the wazoo. The Hospital was the film that Patty Chayefsky created before creating Network, which, of course, Network is just incredible. So we got The Out of Towners, we got Love Story, we got The Hospital, we've got Plaza Suite, Neil Simon, another big hit. How about Silver Streak? Arthur Hiller, Silver Streak, 1976. Yeah? Richard Pryor, right? Who's the other guy? The other guy with the curly hair. What kind of? Gene? This is what happens when you get old. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to think of Richard Pryor and Gene. I'm not going to say Shalit. I am not going to. No, Gene, it doesn't matter. Let's keep going. He did The Lonely Guy. Arthur Hiller did The Lonely Guy, 1984. You ever seen The Lonely Guy? You want to talk about one of your sleeper great comedies of all time. And it's not even really a sleeper because everybody acknowledges that that's a freaking great film. I guess it just wasn't a big box office hit. That's what it was. The Lonely Guy stars Steve Martin and Charles Grodin in what I think is Charles Grodin's second greatest role. I think Midnight Express or Midnight Run is Charles Grodin's first greatest role. But if you have never seen hold on, wait a second. Did I lose my place? Where did it go? Hold on. There it is. I just want to make sure that that's The Lonely Guy. If you've never seen The Lonely Guy, there you go. All right, Arthur Hiller. What else did he do? See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Remember that? That was another Richard Pryor, Gilda Radner's husband show movie. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. They were like blind and deaf people. And that's the movie that introduced me to Joan Severance. I don't know if you know. Joan Severance was the female love interest in Hear No Evil, See No Evil. Gene Wilder. I didn't even look at the chat. I know the chat's been going nuts. Gene Wilder. This is what happens when you get older. Anyway, there you go. Arthur Hiller. Like I say, he's not one of the top, but man, when you look at the movies this guy has created over the past, actually for the life of a Gen Xer, pretty solid. Happy birthday, Arthur Hiller. Let's move on to this next guy. Now, this next guy is considered a genius of film. He is not, he's not Tarantino or Scorsese. But he's not even in that next level, though. He's like in a different level. Like this guy is in a different level, and here's why. Because his films look like nothing anyone has ever seen. His film, you think Tim Burton type stuff. This guy's born on this day in 1940. His films just look like nothing you've ever seen, and they are all critically acclaimed up the wazoo. And I am here to tell you, I find his work unwatchable. Absolutely unwatchable. Who am I talking about? The genius, born on this day in 1940, Terry Gilliam. Can't watch it. But I give him credit. Like, you sit there and you're like, wow, this guy is dazzling. This guy, of course, Terry Gilliam, a member of Monty Python. He was the guy who did all the cartoons and the animation for Monty Python, and the only American, by the way, in Monty Python, Terry Gilliam. Born on this day in 1940. Born on this day in 1943, Billie Jean King. This is funny. It's her birthday. CNN got this lady. One of these ladies, they have on these panels. CNN got these ladies, and every time I see her, I go, oh, check it out. Billie Jean King's on. It ain't Billie Jean King. It ain't, but she looks like Billie Jean King to me. I think this woman's name is Kara Swisher. Kara Swisher on CNN. Every time I see her, I'm like, Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King was a tennis player. Billie Jean King is so great. She's such an icon in American sport. Of course, involved in the Battle of the Sexes with Bobby Riggs, that really sort of took tennis in this country to another level, like a pop sort of vibe. So started to surround the world of tennis. Billie Jean King, she did all that. Here's what I find so funny about Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King had to come out of the closet. Billie Jean King. Now, obviously, I'm saying this as a guy in 2024, right? What we know now. Maybe what we know now is not what we knew then. But I mean, did you ever take a look at Billie Jean King in 1980? And did you ever think that people would be like, I'm shocked that she's a lesbian? Are you kidding me? Is that what a lesbian? Yeah, she's kind of the blueprint for what a lesbian looked like in the 1970s. I don't think anybody was surprised when we learned that Billie Jean King was also, gay. No big deal. Born on this day in 1943, American icon, Billie Jean King. Born on this day in 1950, another icon, but an icon to me, and an icon in New Jersey. We'll put it that way, right? No, I'm not talking about Bruce. What do you people think I'm talking about, Bruce? Bruce is an icon. Bruce isn't just an icon to me or New Jersey. Bruce is an icon. However, Stevie Van Zandt might be a little bit lower. Stevie Van Zandt, born on this day in 1950. Little Steven, Miami Steve, whatever you want to call him. Long-serving musical arranger for the E Street Band. Bruce Springsteen's right-hand guy for 50-plus years. Silvio on The Sopranos. Thank you for all of Stevie Van Zandt's accomplishments in life. And let me tell you, from time to time, I like to tell you about guys that I decide they're dudes. Stevie Van Zandt's a dude. Stevie Van Zandt has done it all. He's done everything. He's been at the top of everything he's tried. He's so cool. The whole idea that this guy, he's an icon of American rock music for his part over, a 40-year career with the E Street Band. Again, my favorite musical collective ever. Those people individually and on their own, I love them all. So I'm biased, of course, but it can't be denied that I'm not the only fan. I mean, there are people who think highly of those people. And Stevie Van Zandt, although not Bruce, Stevie Van Zandt is the second most important person in that whole thing, in that he does all the music, all the arranging. Everybody answers to Stevie. Had his own career, basically took on apartheid in South Africa single-handedly in the 1980s to what at the time was considered great detriment to his career. He left the E Street Band, born in the USA era, like early, like Bruce is the biggest thing in the world. And Stevie Van Zandt says, you know what? I'm going to step away from this, Bruce. Sorry. I know you hate me. I'm going to leave for a while. I'm going to go try and do something about apartheid. I mean, he's just a cool guy, man. Then David Chase, who was a huge Springsteen fan and has always been a bit dazzled by the personality and the mystery behind Stevie Van Zandt. David Chase is writing a show called The Sopranos, and he says, I got a crazy idea that I want to bring in Stevie Van Zandt. He's not an actor. He's never acted. He's like, yeah, but you've seen the way he mugs on stage and the way he's doing a performance. He's acting up there. And they brought him in and cast him as Tony. Stevie Van Zandt, or they were going to try and cast him as Tony. Of course, we know James Gandolfini would have gotten Tony. But they thought originally that Stevie Van Zandt could pull off Tony Soprano. Instead, they gave him Silvio, which wasn't a character. David Chase didn't have the character of Silvio in that. It was after he did the Tony audition. They went, yeah, we don't know about Tony, but I got an idea. And that's how we got Silvio. And that's how Stevie Van Zandt, today's birthday boy, had a double career. Good for him. Born on this day in 1950. Born on this day also in 1950. How about this one? Here's another one. I don't know if she's necessarily as big time as Stevie Van Zandt, but certainly in certain circles. Born on this day in 1950, Tina Weymouth of the Talking Heads and the Tom Tom Club. Very influential. I mean, to say nothing of the fact that she was a woman in music, being taken very seriously. Tina Weymouth, born on this day in 1950. And not just as like a Madonna Pop-Tart, I mean, there was some heft, there was some artistic vision with the stuff that Tina Weymouth was involved in. Born on this day in 1956, one of them dudes. Well, not one of them dudes in the way that I say about dudes. This is one of them that guy actors, one of my favorite guys. Weirdly enough, did you know this guy is George Clooney's best friend? That's right. I'm talking about the lovable Richard Kind, ladies and gentlemen. Look at him. Who doesn't love Richard Kind? He's been in everything. He's George Clooney's best friend. How weird is that? Him and George Clooney were a couple of broke-ass, struggling actors, and they lived together in a shitty apartment for like 5 years. And and they've been lifelong best friends. There you go, Richard Kind, George Clooney's best friend. I prefer Richard Kind from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but maybe you like him from Mad About You. Maybe you like him from Spin City. Me, I'm Richard Kind as Larry David's cousin from New York who moves to Los Angeles and becomes a permanent part of Larry's life. He's very funny. Richard Kind, happy birthday to him, absolutely. How about another happy birthday? Here's another one. Man, let me tell you something. We are getting into a run of celebrity birthdays here. It's pretty impressive. Born on this day, 1958, Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee, you want to talk about having a third act? Holy shit. Jamie Lee Curtis ain't supposed to be hot right now, and she's pretty hot. She's pretty in demand. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, won an Oscar a couple of years back for that. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, All the Time, Nonstop, whatever that movie was. It was a great movie. Oh, that movie was great. I don't know the title. Everything, What You Want, Here We Go, whatever the movie's called. She's so good in that. And she deserved that Oscar, and that was amazing. Seeing Jamie Lee Curtis, an icon from all the 70s and 80s. She originally a scream queen, right? She was relegated to scream queen. Jamie Lee Curtis could only be in 80s and 70s horror films. Then she broke out of that in her mid-20s, and she started doing dramatic roles and started doing commercially successful mainstream films. And then gone. And she was gone. She's doing like yogurt commercials on TV for like 10 years. I'm Jamie Lee Curtis. I have a problem pooping, so I eat yogurt. I mean, that's what she was doing for 10 years. And she gets herself an Oscar. That was amazing. Am I burying the lead on Jamie Lee Curtis's birthday? Do I dare tell the story? The story that I've told on terrestrial radio a couple of times, but the last time I told it, I was told by the general manager of the radio station that if I ever told that story again, I would be fired. You know the story on Jamie Lee Curtis. She is the daughter of Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis. She is certainly a Nepo baby, first generation Nepo baby. Her parents were superstars, and she was a little princess of Hollywood. That was her first act, second act, teenager acting, all that stuff. But on the day that Jamie Lee Curtis was born, this is the story. This is the story that I was told by someone who knows her intimately. And I have never revealed who told this story in a private conversation to a group of people that I had overheard. I'll mention his name now because he's dead. So he's dead. Richard Lewis told this story about Jamie Lee Curtis to a group of people during an interview. He used to do radio in Chicago all the time. Anyway, not on the air. This is not a story that he told on the air. This is a story that Richard Lewis told off the air. Now, Richard Lewis and Jamie Lee Curtis were friends. They'd co-starred together in the 90s sitcom Anything But Love. Oh, if I pulled Anything But Love, but I couldn't remember Gene Wilder's name, there's something wrong with my brain, people. Well, you know, man, you've been tuning in for a while. So here's the story. Jamie Lee Curtis was named Jamie Lee because Jamie and Lee are both androgynous names, and when she was born, the doctors couldn't tell if she was a boy or a girl. They made it a choice of the parents, and Jamie Lee was a girl. And so they did all the snips and whatever you have to do. But this is something that happens. It's not widely talked about, you know, especially back in those days. Sometimes babies are born a little, and that was her. That was Jamie Lee Curtis. And, you know, she's can't have children. She's never been, it's just Jamie Lee were the androgynous names chosen for her because they weren't entirely sure which way they were going to go with this. She could be James Lee Curtis. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Richard Lewis said it was true. And so I've been going with it for a while. Certainly do not know if that is true or not. But I will now cite the source since Richard Lewis passed away this year. Jamie Lee Curtis, happy birthday. You're awesome, lady. I don't care. I don't care if that's true or not. I love you. Do you remember when she did that workout movie in the 80s, how hot she was? Jamie Lee Curtis, physical, or what was it? Physical. What was it? Jamie Lee Curtis did a movie in the 1980s about aerobics when the whole aerobics boom was happening. And maybe it was her and John Travolta. I don't know, whatever. But she played an aerobics instructor. And for about 6 months, everywhere in America, there were gigantic billboards of Jamie Lee Curtis in an aerobics outfit. And let me tell you, 15, 16-year-old me approved. That was everything. Jamie Lee Curtis, born on this day in 1958. Born on this day in 1961. Here's an interesting one. Mariel Hemingway. Mariel Hemingway is an actress. She was a big actress in the late 70s, into the 1980s, and then her career was destroyed. Her career, she made a couple of choices in films that made her, at least in the eyes of Hollywood and their fear of sponsors and all that kind of thing, made her a little bit unbankable, would you say? Sure. Mariel Hemingway, first, a little backstory. Mariel Hemingway is an actress. She comes from a famous family. Maybe you recognize the last name. She's an actress. She has an older sister, Margot, who was a model, a very famous model, a little bit older than Mariel. Margot was famous in the late 60s, early 70s. Margot would die of a suicide, she overdosed on purpose, Margot Hemingway. Mariel Hemingway wrote in a book that she is the only one of 5 straight generations of Hemingways who haven't committed suicide. Apparently her father, Jack, the son of Ernest Hemingway, killed himself. Her daughter, her sister, Margot, killed herself. Of course, her grandfather, Ernest Hemingway, killed himself. Apparently she's got an uncle that killed himself. So mental problems and genius are at war inside the Hemingway family. She's an incredibly interesting woman. She made 2 films. She broke through in 1979 as a teenager, playing the lead in Woody Allen's Manhattan. She was nominated for a Best Supporting Actress. I believe the film won for Best Film, or maybe that was Annie Hall the next year. I don't know. But it was a controversial film in that it dealt with the story of Woody Allen playing basically a version of Woody Allen in Manhattan. And he's dating like a 15-year-old. And Mariel Hemingway is the 15-year-old that he's dating. And the whole movie is about the social, how I guess it's something that used to happen where wealthy men would show up with young girls. It's a crazy, provocative film that's really good. Really good. Woody Allen don't make bad films. Woody Allen makes great films. They might make you uncomfortable the way Manhattan did, but oh my God. Anyway, that's what she broke through. Then she kind of finished. She followed that up with 2 films in a row that ruined her career, essentially. After Manhattan, after being nominated for an Oscar, she was supposed to be the next big thing. She did in 1982 Personal Best. She chose to do Personal Best, which is probably the most controversial film of the year. It was banned in theaters everywhere. Why? Because it was the story of 2 female Olympic track and field athletes who were lesbians in 1982. So after doing Manhattan, where she played an underage mistress, she went to a role where she played a lesbian and had lesbian scenes in 1982. Everybody was like, nope, we can't do that. That's not a thing. Very controversial. Personal Best. Not a good movie either. It was not a good movie, just objectively. It's just, She followed that off. Remember now, she's the young girl who has just been nominated for an Oscar. She's hot as they come. Okay, she just did this film. It was a poor choice because now people look at her like she's a lesbian and we don't like her, because that's what America was in 1982. She decides to do another film. Her next film is Peter Bogdanovich's Star 80. Boy, oh boy, She follows up her film in 1983, the most controversial film of the year, with the most controversial film of 1983. Star 80 was the story of Playboy model Dorothy Stratton. Mariel Hemingway played Dorothy Stratton. Dorothy Stratton was Playmate of the Year. She was murdered by her boyfriend. And it's an incredibly great story. Eric Roberts, who was, again, another guy, such a great actor. This killed his career too. Star 80 was a hit. People did like it, but it was controversial, and it was seen as, oh, she's that kind of an actress, and her career never recovered. The American movie buying public decided that Mariel Hemingway, who had done a movie where she was a lesbian, and then she followed it up by playing a murdered playmate. Excuse me, my Zin just popped out. Better than my dentures. Hey, I don't have dentures. I'm wondering, do dentures still exist? I asked that on Twitter. Anyway, happy birthday, Mariel Hemingway. She's still alive. She's an advocate for suicide and depression and all of that stuff. She's a pretty cool chick, Mariel Hemingway. What does she look like? Let's see what Mariel Hemingway is looking like these days. Because she was, guys, let me tell you, she was really cute. She was really cute. I remember thinking how cute she was in Manhattan when she was, playing the underage girl dating Woody Allen, which was fine because I was probably seeing it when I was 13. So I was allowed to think she was cute. Woody wasn't. That was the weird part. Not me. She's just an older girl. She's a hot older girl to me. Let's see what she's looking like now. Oh, how badly will I? Okay, here she is. All right, let's see what Mariel is looking like these days. First of all, let's start with how cute she was back when I had a crush on her. There we go. I think she's 62 today. Is that what she is? All right, so there you go. So here's Mariel. That was her when she was controversial young ingenue actress. Oh, well, yeah, there she is now. All right, that answered the question. Okay. All right, she's a woman in her 60s, Mariel Hemingway. There you have it. Sad. I don't know if it's a sad family story. How sad is it when, Ernest Hemingway has basically sold, he's been dead 100 years and he sells enough books every year to buy everyone in the family a private jet. I don't know how tough it is being a Hemingway, but I guess that level of genius comes with some baggage, and it's generational baggage, as we've learned. Born on this day, 1961, Mariel Hemingway. Born on this day in 1966. I want to vomit every time I have to see this guy somewhere because I love him so much, and I think it's such an incredible waste that he died just 3 years ago. Born on this day in 1966, incredible waste of an actor, Michael K. Williams. Michael K. Williams, of course, Omar from The Wire and Chalky from Boardwalk Empire, and did that other thing. What was that movie? Hap and Leonard, right? He was just so incredible in every role he took on. This guy was such a force, such a presence as an actor in every scene. That's not normal. He stole every scene just by being there, looking menacing or looking intelligent, because that was the thing about him. He was the scariest motherfucker, Michael K. Williams, scariest motherfucker you were ever going to run across, but also formidable, like brain-wise. Like, he wasn't a dummy. He wasn't just a crazy murderous thug. Michael K. It's a shame. Born on this day in 1966. Born on this day in 1967, Mark Ruffalo. Look, I like the Avengers. I got to be honest. Mark Ruffalo makes like 1 million films. Unless he's making an Avenger film, I'm pretty sure I ain't seeing anything that fruit cup is pumping out. That guy makes the most like Femi ponytail guy. No, I'm a sensitive man. Bullshit films I've ever seen. Mark Ruffalo, I'm like, ugh. And now you're going to make him the Hulk? Really? You know what's funny about Mark Ruffalo is the Hulk? This is what I love. I love that the morphing, we talked about this yesterday. We were discussing Bill Bixby, and I called him, he was the Hulk. And then I corrected myself. I'm like, no, Bill Bixby wasn't the Hulk. Bill Bixby was Dr. Banner, the Hulk. When he turned into the Hulk, that was played by Lou Ferrigno. Well, we don't have to do that anymore because we've got, special effects. And of course, Mark Ruffalo, our birthday boy, he's the Hulk, the current Hulk in the Avenger movies. What I think is funny is that When he goes from being like normal Mark Ruffalo doctor and then he turns into the Hulk, they're able to make the Hulk's face look like Mark Ruffalo. I love that. That would never been the case. Like if you looked at the Hulk from the old Hulk TV series, you'd look at Lou Ferrigno's face and you go, I don't see any Bill Bixby in there. But when you look at the Hulk now, you're like, that's fucking Mark Ruffalo. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I like that. Happy birthday, Mark Ruffalo. Big stars, man. I'm telling you, we got a lot of big stars having birthdays today. How about this boy, 1980 born? Sean Fanning. What did Sean Fanning do? Napster. Remember him? I used to have concerns about Sean Fanning. I remember doing a particular rant on the radio one morning about how Sean Fanning and Sean Parker, I guess, was also involved in the creation of Napster, file sharing and all that. I remember thinking at one point, Sean Fanning is going to end up with nothing. He will have revolution. I mean, talk about a disruptor. At the time, the buzz lingo was all, we're looking for disruptors. We're looking for disruptor. Sean Fanning is the only true disruptor. And I remember at the time thinking, this guy ain't going to get a dime out of this. They're going to sue him into oblivion. That wasn't the case. He actually ended up, he got shut down by the government and all that because Napster was illegal. But there had been so much awareness of the story and the brand that the brand Napster suddenly became worth billions of dollars. So he sold the branding and all that kind of stuff. And Napster went on, and I guess the software. So he's fine. Sean Fanning, born on this day in 1980. He's an angel investor. That's how I know he's fine. Because it says Sean Fanning, creator of Napster, angel investor. And I'm like, okay. An angel investor is a super rich guy who just gives poor people with good ideas money to make money off their ideas. So obviously he's got bucks. Born on this day in 1980, Sean Fanning. Born on this day in 1984. Is she the biggest female film star working today? If you had a movie and you needed it to be a hit and it had needed a lead for a woman, who would you choose? You need today, Hollywood. You got a film. You need a big movie star. You need a female movie star. Who are you going with? There's a number of actresses out there who are, kind of Sydney Sweeney is hot, but is she an actress? Like, is she considered, Yeah, she's big. Who else we got? Jessica Chastain. Okay, Jessica Chastain has definitely got the chops. She's big, but is she as big as our birthday girl, Scarlett Johansson? I think she's 1A in the female A-list celebrity or actresses in Hollywood. I could be wrong. Chat room, am I missing somebody? And I might be. I'm just a bit biased towards Scarlett Johansson. I think she's one of the all-timers. And I don't mean, I'm not meaning like pervy. I mean, as an actress, all-timers. Have you guys ever seen Jojo Rabbit? Have you ever seen that latest movie that weird guy who makes weird movies does, where she played like Rocket Girl, or she was, I don't even know what that movie was. What was that movie? Anyway, the movie she just recently did, Rocket Town or something. She's incredible in that. Movie sucks. Movie's weird as hell, and I don't like it. She's incredible in that. But I would, again, turn your attention to the film Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit is still one of in the past 10 years, Boyhood is, I think, the best film of the past 10 years. Boyhood. Jojo Rabbit is right there. Jojo Rabbit is right there. That film is so good. If you've never seen Jojo Rabbit, enjoy. And Scarlett Johansson should have won an Oscar for that. She should have won an Oscar for that film. All right, that's going to do it for the, did she? Maybe she did. I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused. All right, we're going to segue now into the deads. Barney says, would there be an iPhone without Napster? I don't know. I don't know how that works. It's a good question. I mean, one thing leads to another, right? I mean, everything is a domino effect. Jeff Ballard in the chat room, he says he was in an M. Night Shyamalan movie that wasn't bad. Wasn't really great either. I guess we're talking about Ruffalo there. Byron says Ruffalo is leaving the U.S., remember? No, is he one of them? Is he leaving? The Hulk? Really? Yeah, all right. Have fun defending Paris, I guess. All right, let's get into the deads. These are people who've died on this day, people who've died. Shout out to Jim Carroll. Let's talk about them as if we knew them and decide if they went to heaven or hell. Here we go. We call it the deads, or just dead people. Dead on this day, 1718, off the coast of North Carolina. They tamed the shores on that day. They struck down the sailing menace, Blackbeard. Blackbeard, the legendary pirate. Blackbeard. You ever been down to that part of the country? A lot of Blackbeard stuff. Florida loves their Blackbeard stuff. North Carolina loves their Blackbeard stuff. Blackbeard went to hell because he's a pirate. Dead on this day in 1718. Dead on this day in 1955. Preemptively putting this dude into heaven because although I wasn't a big fan, I enjoyed, but I wasn't a big fan. I'll explain this. Dead on this day in 1955. Putting him in heaven, Shemp Howard. Shemp from the Three Stooges. I love Shemp. Shemp is, I like the Stooges, right? I enjoy the Stooges. You can put the Three Stooges on and I'm like, oh, these guys are funny. Oh, these guys are great. Oh my God, they're such icons. Where I sort of diverge from people when it comes to the Three Stooges is when they're like, oh, they're the greatest of all time. I'm like, they weren't even the greatest of their era. I mean, they weren't even, as far as the old-timey people, I'm much more sort of in step with the humor of like the Marx Brothers, right? Like the Marx Brothers were really funny. The Three Stooges were just lower, I guess. I guess there was wit. There was like satire with the Marx Brothers. Groucho was so quick and funny. Whereas the Three Stooges were just a bunch of imbeciles hitting each other with hammers, which was funny. Don't get me wrong. I also, while I was growing up, they would air the Three Stooges after school at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And it would be for an hour. It would be an hour block. And it would be a half hour of the Three Stooges followed by a half hour of the Little Rascals. I'm a Little Rascals guy. Yeah, even back then, I'm like, all right, can we get through the Stooges bullshit so I can see what the Rascals are building? Because the Rascals would always build like cars and contraptions, and that's what I like that. I like the creativity, the wit of the Rascals. Whereas Three Stooges were just dudes being mean to each other. Shemp, dead on this day. We're putting him in heaven because he seemed like a good guy. Also, do you know that Shemp wasn't Curly's replacement? Because, you get a lot of that with people. They're like, I only like, they started to suck when they got rid of Curly, when Curly left, and they brought in that other guy, Shemp. And I'll say, you don't know the history of the Stooges. You think that. The perception is that Shemp followed Curly, but the truth is that Shemp is an original brother. Shemp and Mo Howard are brothers. Shemp was an original Three Stooge. Shemp left. Shemp was like, I can go be a movie star. I don't need you guys. I'm gonna go solo. And Shemp Howard went solo for a while, and his movie career didn't work out. So he came back. And in the meantime, they had Curly. And then they sort of, I don't know what it was, but he's the original. And the reason that people think that he replaced Curly is because when he was doing things with the Three Stooges, when Shemp was an original member, they didn't have the rights, the film rights or whatever. So whatever we saw in syndication, those were all just half of the body of work of the Three Stooges. The other stuff, I think it's only the King, was it the King feature stuff that we got? I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. Shemp Howard, we're putting him in heaven. He's a good guy. Lots been written about him. People loved him. He was a decent dude. There you go. Didn't work out for him as a big star, but he's still a Three Stooge. Dead on this day in 1950. Dead on this day in 1980, Mae West, America's first public whore. America's first socially acceptable slut. That's what she was. Mae West is a goddamn, you ever read about Mae West? I mean, do you even know who Mae West was? She's essentially the first generation sex symbol. Okay? So you think about what we have now in sex symbols. Sex sells. Sex is everywhere. Sex. It's everywhere. Well, it wasn't always, we weren't always a society that was that comfortable. In fact, we're pretty Victorian. Don't forget, this country was settled by pilgrims, people who left Europe because they didn't like all the dancing, So that's who we are in our soul, in our fiber. So in the beginning of Hollywood, they had women, pretty women, but, they were always victims in positions to be saved by the man. That's not what Mae West was. Mae West was a completely different type of female in film. She was sexually empowered. And by the way, we're talking about like the 1930s, right? She was sexually empowered. She wasn't intimidated by men. She was a true force and the first American sex symbol. The first woman who got on a screen and it was clear this chick liked to have sex, okay? Just like normal people, I don't care if it's 1930, people in 1930 still like to have sex. And Mae West was the first representation of a person in film who kind of carried that attitude. She's a very important person. We're going to put her in heaven, Mae West. Very important. And I don't think they really think about her much. Dead on this day in 1980. Dead on this day in 1997. Michael Hutchence of INXS. Oh, one of my favorites. I've seen INXS. I've seen the Michael Hutchence version of INXS 4 times. And the very first time, you'd be like, if you had been with me the first time I saw INXS and Michael Hutchence, you'd be like, really? And then you saw him 3 times after that? First time I saw INXS was at the UIC Pavilion at maybe like the late 1980s, I think, or something. I was a big fan. It was the worst concert I have ever been to. The first INXS show that I saw was just, you know what, screw those guys. They showed up on stage. They were so drunk. Michael Hutchence couldn't even sit on the stage. He had a stool. They brought a stool out. He fell off the stool. They only played for like 35 minutes before they stumbled off. And then there was no encore. Yeah, but it was still INXS and I was like 19. So I was like, that's cool. That was cool. I was very upset. I did go on to see them a number of other times where they were fucking great. They were great. One of the last concerts they ever played was a concert for Q101, my station in Chicago. I was sidekicking and producing the morning show. Wendy and Bill, shout out. And we did this big street party in front of our, this is, remember I tell you about when I worked at Q101, we were like the biggest alternative. We were like one of the most important alternative stations in America. There were only 3. There was one in Los Angeles, there was us in Chicago, and then there was a brand new one in New York. The alternative music format was in the process of proving that it could be in every market in the country. And we were there. We were Q101. We were the blowtorch of the Midwest. Boom. And so we did a street concert in front of our studios. And yeah, it was really cool. It was INXS and Duran Duran. Oh, and Chumbawamba. Remember them? I get knocked down and I get up again. That's fucking, think about that. I mean, you know, when I was at 105.3, we're putting on concerts where we're bringing in like Living Color 20 years later. And we're bringing in, I mean, we had Duran Duran. We had 1995. We had Duran Duran and INXS and Chumbawamba right there on the street in front of the merchandise mart. It was freaking awesome. And then like a month later, he died. He died on this day in 1997. I know what you're saying. You're like, Pugs, you're burying the lead. Yeah, Michael Hutchence died jerking off. Which is, you know me, I don't know if there's a God or not, but Jesus, God's got a great, God, Michael Hutchence, God must have looked at Michael Hutchence in the way Michael Hutchence, let's say last 15 years of his life was. God must have looked at Michael Hutchence and goes, fuck this guy. Why did I give him everything? Why did I give him everything? You know what? When the story is written on this guy, he'll find out who's calling the shots. And that's how Michael Hutchence died. Michael Hutchence was a respected artist. He was cool. He was good looking. He was like, I remember he was like this modern day Jim Morrison. Every woman was insane for Michael Hutchence. He was always thought to be just the cool, little stoic, but yet with a really good cutting sort of Australian wit. He had everything. And then God said, you're going to die jerking off. How about that? Huh? What do you think you are, the chosen one? I sent the son down here. It ain't you. He's going to die jerking off. And now when anybody thinks of how cool Michael Hutchence was, they must then immediately go, yeah, but he died jerking off in a closet at the Four Seasons. So you might be wondering, how do you die? Pugs, how do you die jerking off? Well, it's the whole, I don't want to talk. This is one of those subjects that I don't want to talk about. I never wanted to talk about it. My partner Kelly was always fascinated by it. So whenever it would come up in the news, she would be like, we got to talk about this. And I'd be like, I hate this subject. I don't want to talk about it. So I'll tell you what the subject is. It's how Michael Hutchins died. It's the subject of autoerotic asphyxiation, which is the practice that some people use to, juice up their orgasms. Apparently, it's the theory that if you choke off the blood to your neck while you're about to, orgasm, that it's supposed to be heightened and incredible. Look, I don't know about you. I have never had an orgasm and then been like, yeah, that could have been better. That could have been that. You know what? I'm not satisfied with that. But I wonder if you're Michael Hutchins, where it's like, just endless streams of like, oh, Kylie Minogue tonight, Madonna tomorrow night, just all of these things. I wonder if when you get to be Michael Hutchins, you have to ratchet that up a little bit. Like you just got to do something. It's like, yeah, whatever. I have sex 15 times a day with the world's most beautiful women. They all want me. I'm going to die jerking off because it's going to be a little bit better. I hate the subject. I hate that subject because I think we're going to move on. I don't want to give anybody any ideas, okay? Because I know you're a lot of pervs out there. Yeah, so that's why I always hate talking about it. It's like, somebody's going to try it. I used to always say that to Kelly. Kelly, somebody's going to try it. And she's like, well, not everyone can't die. That was kind of her. Everyone can't die. I mean, some will. Actually, I do remember what she said to me once. She said, well, Pugs, people do heroin. You talk about people doing heroin, right? You want people to try heroin? That's supposed to be incredible. So she had a point. Michael Hutchins died in an insanely humiliating way, and it couldn't have happened to a more, I'm the coolest guy. All right, next segment here, we're going to go into, what do I got to mention? I'm a little out of sorts, if I'm being honest. I got to apologize. The show's running a little bit late. We're a little bit upside down today. Don't worry. We're not in a rush. We got, I think as long as we're out of here by 4, I think I got a meeting coming in here at 4. We should be okay. So let's now talk about all the day's headlines, hot topics, and current events, okay? All the stuff that's happening today. Once again, I'd like to remind you, though, our executive producer today is, who's our exec producer today? I don't think we had one. Excuse me. Yesterday, of course, Tracy D. Thank you so much. You know what we do? Oh, that's right. We do have an exec producer. I am so sorry. I can't believe that I forgot that. There we go. Executive producer of today's show is, of course, I lost it. Where was it? Serenity now. Peter is our executive producer because, as I said earlier today, I show up at the office, the studios here at the Gallery, and Peter brought me a new sign. A present. I can't plug it in again, and you can't see it, but it'll be up. You can see it lights up. Oh, so badass. Apparently, Peter's friend made this. Really nice work. How cool is that? Okay. So thank you, Peter. Peter is our executive producer. If you would like to be the executive producer of this here show, you know how you do it. You just got to drop a little something in the Venmo or the Cash App. It helps this show continue on. We've been doing it every day for 3 years. We do not accept advertising, or I should say I do not chase advertising. No advertisers, no nothing, just you. If you like this kind of talk radio, you're going to drop something. And every month when we count up all the shekels that have been dropped in the tin, we decide whether or not this is worth going forward another month. We've been doing it for 3 years. You people are incredible, so thank you so much. If you are interested in any way, shape, or form, wanting to be the executive producer tomorrow, you just need to be the top tipper of today's show. Hell, we may not even get any tippers, and that's completely okay. But if you are, you will be Monday's executive producer. You can help out the show, boom, by going there. Okay, moving on. Holy crap. We've been talking 167,000 pounds of ground beef is now being recalled for E. coli. How many of these damn stories are we going to have to go into? Now, this isn't an actual story. I'm just sawing it out of the corner of my eye, and I got it coming up, so I figured I'd mention it right now. We had the McDonald's onions 2 weeks ago, right? We had baby organic carrots from Whole Food this week, and now here we are. We're hearing about 167 pounds of ground beef that have been recalled. E. coli. Google it if you want the details. I really hate these stories. But man, isn't that weird? Doesn't it seem like a whole lot of food is getting tainted lately? All right, first and foremost, let's talk about the headlines because we don't do politics, but we will read the headlines and then we'll move on. Quick headlines in the world of politics. Gates is out. That's from the LA Times. You don't have the votes, Gates told by Trump. That's the New York Post. Let's see here. Police records reveal graphic details about sex allegations against Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is, of course, the defense secretary nominee. That is from the LA Times. Let's see here. RFK Jr. regularly trashed new boss in private. That's from the AP. Former babysitter to RFK Jr.'s kids speak about sexual assault. The New York Times. Education pick sued for allegedly enabling child sex abuse. That is, of course, Linda McMahon, wife of Vince McMahon. That comes to us from the Boston Globe. Right, there you go. There's your headlines. Now let's get into the stories, the ones that I want to talk about. Those are your political headlines, okay? We don't do politics, but you should know. You should know what people are saying and who the sources are that's saying it. The reason I'm giving you the newspapers is because I don't want you to go, oh, because some guy I saw forwarded it on Twitter without any source of who is saying it. You need to know who the source of who is saying these things. So that's why I do it that way. Appreciate your patience. All right, the big story, Russia. Yesterday, we did the story about how the Ukraine was saying that Russia had finally used, or for the first time in the war against Ukraine, an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is a longer range missile enabling Russian forces to strike deeper into Ukraine, but also potentially as far as London. Wait, why am I applauding that? That is not good. So these are the ICBMs that Russia is now employing. Yesterday's story was Ukraine was saying they're using ICBMs, and Russia was like, nope. Or actually, Russia didn't say anything. Brings us to today's story. Russia is saying something. Russia is telling now exactly what they used. Here's a quote, though. Let me give you this quote from Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, on the situation with him upping the ante and using longer range missiles, hypersonic missiles. He's doing this in response to both the United Kingdom and America granting Ukrainian forces permission to use longer range military equipment provided by the UK and by the United States. So Putin is saying, if they're now going to be able to strike closer to the heart of Moscow, I will now start using my missiles that'll strike closer to their heart. The problem is he's not saying Kiev. He's not saying there are concerns about NATO bases in Poland. Look, that's it. That's it. You can saber rattle all you want, Putin, but if you attack a NATO base in Poland, it's on. It's on, it's over, and you're gone. Scary? Yeah, that's real scary. That's why dealing with madmen is fucking precarious business, because he's a madman. Here's what he said. Putin, quoting now, we are entitled to use our weapons against the military facilities of those countries that allow their weapons to be used against our facilities, Putin said. In the event of now this is the important thing because everybody's reacting to that. Everybody is reacting to this from Vladimir Putin. We are entitled to use our weapons against the military facilities of those countries that allow their weapons to be used against our facilities. That's what got the reaction. That's what the talking heads are all blabbing about. They're like, he's threatening us. You know what I tell you? We're all constantly being manipulated by these people with nice haircuts and expensive suits on TV. This is an example of it. That's the thing that gets people scared. Why? Because he's obviously talking about the United States allowing Ukraine to use longer range missiles. He's obviously talking about us. And he's saying, we will strike against facilities of countries that allow their weapons. He is not even being coy. He's just simply not saying the United States by name, but obviously he's talking about us because we are allowing Ukraine to use the longer missiles. And people are reacting to that. He's saying he's going to attack us. He's saying he's going to blow up a base in Poland. And they're saying this because they're refusing to add the rest of it, because context does nothing but kill a good story. When you want people debating, he then went on to say, in the event of an aggressive escalation, we will respond just as decisively. They're not telling you that he said that. They're telling you he said the other thing. Why? Because what he says there is that this event isn't the one that's going to trigger me, right? So what he's saying here, in the event of an aggressive escalation, not this, right? We've already allowed the Ukraine to use those missiles, and then he used one of his big missiles, and now he's responding to that exchange. He's not saying, I'm going to attack NATO bases in Poland. I'm going to blow up London. He's not saying that. It's saber rattling. He's saying, as he finishes the statement, in the event of an aggressive escalation, in the event that you guys do anything more, it's like he's going, yeah, okay, fine, but now I'm drawing this line. That's the truth of it. But that doesn't gin people up. That doesn't make people scared. Is it a serious situation? Absolutely. Absolutely. But is Putin acting like a madman, or is he just acting like a tough guy who's in a war? He's acting like a tough guy who's in a war. It's very important that we remember he said, in the event of an aggressive escalation. He said this last night. So now it's on us, right? So we'll see. Anyway, that's the story with the new hypersonic missiles that Russia is employing, or at least employed 2 days ago, and threatening to use again in the event of any escalation by Ukes, I guess, I don't know, or American and United Kingdom missiles being used. All right, let's go. Yesterday, the big story was that Matt Gaetz is out. He stepped down. He removed his name from consideration for the next attorney general of these here United States. So President-elect Donald Trump had to quickly move, and he's going with Florida Attorney General Pam Biondi. Moving on. See, we don't. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go like, I don't like her? Or am I supposed to go, she's really actually nobody cares. Okay, you can get all that in a million other places. Hegseth, let's talk about this guy. Flat out, hate this fucking guy. Okay, I just hate this guy. I don't know that he's not, this is not about defense secretary. He just seems like such a fucking alpha testosterone, the kind of guy that is really tough. And then you just shoot him in the head and you walk away. He's just like, I'll kick your ass. He's got the tattoos. He's one of these dudes who probably spent the better part of like 2010 to 2015 wearing a affliction shirt. He's like one of these guys. And a bunch of lesser men. He is one of these guys. I call them, he's one of these guys that's put on TV and he presents and projects a hyper masculine sort of vibe of who he is, and it's all fake. It is all fake. They put him on TV. Well, maybe it's not fake, but there is a reason for putting these kinds of people on TV. It's because lesser men want to project who he is, or want to project their lack of masculinity onto him. I'm a fan of his. I like him. Yeah, man, just like that. I'm like, you fucking pussies. Stop it with your big ass gut. Pete Hegseth seems like a dick. He seems like a dick. I never saw him on. I don't know. I guess he's one of these like patriot guys and like good. I love this country too, but he seems like a dick. How do you guys not say it? How do you guys not look at a guy and go, yeah, I don't want my sister dating him. That guy seems like a complete fucking chode. He seems, but whatever. Hey, whatever. Yeah, some people like these kinds of guys. I think he's trying too hard with the whole alpha male nonsense. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he was in the military, right? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know, but he ain't qualified, okay? He's a weekend guy. He ain't even qualified for a primetime slot on Fox. This fucking guy is doing weekends. Anyway, defense secretary. He's not going to get it. He's another one of these guys that's going to go down in flames. But as I said when I first announced 2 weeks ago, Jesus, the election was only a couple of weeks. I was like 2 weeks ago when we first started talking about the naming of Matt Gaetz. I told you what this was. I said Trump was going to name a whole bunch of outlier guys that were in no way ready. Like the first wave of names are going to be names that are going to drive the selection and they're going to drive the committees nuts. They're going to drive both Congress and Senate nuts. And this is a negotiating platform. This is, you start high, you go low. I don't think he ever had any. Trump's not stupid. Trump knew there was no way Matt Gaetz, a guy who was hated by just about everybody, was ever going to get approved, even within the Republican caucus. This is the guy who manufactured Kevin McCarthy's ouster. Do you not think that Kevin McCarthy has a million fucking friends that are still, yeah, we'll get him. Don't worry, we'll get him. There was no way. It's not that the Dems weren't going to vote for McCarthy. It's that the Republicans think he's a dick. Okay? That's the problem. It's also why we're not hearing Ted Cruz. So we're not hearing him for anything like Secretary of State or anything like that, because he won't get confirmed. Because people in his own party think he's a fucking douche and don't want him having that kind of power. So that's what this is. All of these guys. I don't think RFK Jr. is going to get approved. I think a lot of these guys are just opening salvos in the negotiation to eventually get the kind of person that he wants. Trump is not stupid. Trump knows these people are way too extreme. But you start out with the way too extreme. And then you're like, okay, all right, I'll give you another guy. Maybe he wanted Pam Biondi all along. Because after Matt Gaetz, the people in Congress are going to be like, all right, well, she's obviously not that bad. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We want to work with you. So, that's all a negotiating thing. It's going to be fine. Hegseth, though, the defense secretary thing, that's getting some problems there, because there's some lady in Los Angeles who went on a date with him and said that he jacked off on her stomach. Did you read this stuff? Did you read the details of that? I don't know. It doesn't sound like he's a rapist. And, honestly, there's video of all right, I got to take a deep breath on this rant, because, we're talking about somebody who is on the precipice, not really, but of attaining a very important job, Defense Secretary of the United States. So let's go over the story instead of me ranting. Let's be fair. Pete Hegseth was, I guess, giving a speech in 2017 at some kind of, I don't know. I don't know. They hold these things at hotel convention centers all across America every weekend, where someone from Fox News is going to get up and you're going to buy your $25 ticket and maybe get a picture with them. It's a money-making thing, and it, keeps the people ginned up at the grassroots local level. I'm going down to the Holiday Inn. They're going to have Maria Bartiromo talking. Tickets $45. They got a breakfast too. Let's go. So he's at one of these things. I think this was actually a convention, some kind of convention, but he was a paid speaker. And one of the cool things about being a paid speaker is that people are paying to hear you talk. And then afterwards, you go to the bar and all of a sudden you're the rock star that was just on stage. So he started, Hegseth's a good looking guy. Seems like he's very testosterone driven, probably likes to have a lot of sex, whether he's married or not. We don't care about that anymore. We really don't care about that anymore. We don't care if you cheat on your wife. We don't care if you got a girlfriend. We really don't. We don't seem to care about it. Anyway. Nobody ties any moralistic parallels to behavior anymore. It's all just, yeah, he did that. Everybody did that. He's still a good person. That kind of not. That kind of means he's not a good person, because he's not really considering others who are feeling betrayed. Point is this. Does a speech, goes to the bar, hooks up with this chick. Apparently they do it. This chick goes to the hospital after doing it with them, says, I want a rape kit. We got this whole thing. She goes to the police then. She has this whole report, very detailed, graphic. I got pretty graphic when I told you the one thing that stuck out to me that was kind of weird. But anyway, police decided not to file any charges. The accusations against him are, it sounds like he's a real D-bag. But then again, I look at him and I think, yeah, I could totally see him doing this. But the police didn't buy it. I guess they didn't prosecute. I guess they didn't bring charges. And there's a video. And this is the interesting thing. So the girl that he was with apparently was getting very intoxicated. And she herself, and it's in the police report when you read it, she called her friend. She called her friend or texted her friend, get over here, blah, blah, blah. So her friend comes over because apparently drunky girl getting hit on by Pete Hegseth was feeling a little uncomfortable and wanted another girl there. So she texted her girl, come on over. Women do this. Women do this all the time. I don't know if you guys realize it. If you're totally talking to this chick and then all of a sudden her friends come over and they're like, we got to go see that. Yeah, you've just been Her friends looked at you and said, you suck, and they went and got her out of there. So if you're talking with a chick and her friends show up and they stay, this chick ain't into you. This chick is not into you. It's just not. They're there for protection. Now, if the friend shows up, this is a good sign, though. If the friend does show up and you're like vibing with this new chick, and after like 30 seconds, the friend is like, all right, I'm out of here, and she leaves, that's good, because the friend just got a cue from the other friend that you're cool and that she needs to go. So that's kind of what was going on with Hegseth. So she texts her friend comes over, and her friend's standing there. Her friend was sober. Hegseth was apparently very drunk. The other girl was Jane Doe, because they have that luxury. I can say Hegseth. I can say Hegseth all I want. Pete Hegseth, Fox News, Pete Hegseth. I can say that all I want. I got to call her Jane Doe. So Jane Doe goes to the police and describes this absolutely horrible incident that happened. But there's video. There is video of this woman who claims that she was sexually assaulted by Pete Hegseth. There's video of her exiting Knuckles Bar. Knuckles. That's totally the name of a bar in some hotel. Knuckles. They have her exiting Knuckles Bar with Pete. And I haven't seen the videos. But the police took a look at the videos and went, yeah, we're not pressing charges. Apparently, she was all over them. Apparently, she was hanging on them and they were holding hands and all of that kind of stuff. So that's where we are with the Pete Hegseth story. You can find all the details. I've got all the details right here. I don't want to go into them, and we'll move on. We got too many stories to get to. I mean, it's probably going to tank him. It is probably going to tank him. But I don't know, man. I look at this and I don't like the way these things play out anymore. I used to understand the reason for the men must be named, therefore it must be known to all men but that's not fair anymore. It's not fair anymore. There is an industry of women trying to destroy men. Are men, in many cases, pigs and deserving of this? Yeah, and we get some of them. We get the Weinsteins, and yeah, we get them from time to time. There's also a lot of guys who are just getting fucked over, man. They're just getting fucked over and I say this as someone who has absolutely no exposure, right? I mean, it's not like but I'm just looking at other guys out there. How hard is it to just, especially if you're a guy of any note, if you're a guy of any status, especially if you're a guy of any status in media, I mean, man, it's just, and this is why it's complicated for me, because Pete Hegseth is obviously a fucking douche bro, right? I see him and I'm like, you're a douche. You are a total douche bro. Do I think he's capable of date rape? Absolutely. That's like these guys, these douche bro, frat boy types, alpha male, super testosterone types. Yes, that they were born for the game of date rape. That's where the date rape thing came from. So do I think it's possible he did it? Yeah. Am I sold by anything that I've heard so far that is exactly what he did? No. No, not in this case. Do I think it's possible? Hell yeah. Oh yeah, I think he's totally that kind of guy. Do I think that this is any real evidence? No, I don't. But I also think that it's going to be enough to get the Congress to move on from Hegseth. Unless they already did. What is this? Breaking news? No, that's not it. We already covered that. Here's a big story that happened last night. War crimes have been filed against Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Benji Netanyahu's being the World Court. Well, here, I'll just give it. Top War Crimes Court issues arrest warrants for Netanyahu and others in Israeli-Hamas fighting. The world's top war crimes court has issued arrest warrants Thursday for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his former defense minister, and Hamas military chief, accusing them of crimes against humanity. Okay, this is fair. This is, I don't know. I don't know enough about the World Court, and neither do you. Everything you guys know about how this is going to play out comes from something you read online this morning. Stop it. But I do think it's promising that they named both the guy who's in charge of Hamas and the guy who's in charge of Israel, calling both sides. That's good. You know, seems fairer that way. I don't know. The warrant said that there was reason to believe Netanyahu and former defense minister Yoav Gallant. That's the dude that used to be on CNN a lot, Yoav Gallant. We used to see like Yoav Gallant in the early days. He was always on TV because Netanyahu couldn't do TV in America every day. So it was Yoav Gallant. Yoav Gallant and, the warrants say there was reason to believe Netanyahu and former defense minister Yoav Gallant have used starvation as a method of warfare by restricting humanitarian aid and have intentionally targeted civilians in Israel's campaign against Hamas in Gaza. The action by the International Criminal Court came as the death toll from Israel's campaign in Gaza passed 44,000 people. 9/11 was only 2,000, guys. 44,000 people. All right, we're going to move on from that. All right, there you go. So now we got Netanyahu in the same position that Vladimir Putin is. Can't just fly around the world willy-nilly. You never know where your plane's going to land, and that country's going to have people going, we're enforcing this world court warrant for your arrest. All right, moving on. Stock exchange plot. Did you guys hear about this one? This was a pretty weird story. This has got some really crazy details. So apparently there was a dude, Florida man, crazy Florida man with one of those exotic Middle Eastern names. The FBI says Florida man planned to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. Now, it's one thing to just, say, yeah, I got plans to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. It's another thing to actually have some tangible steps having already been taken. And, I think the FBI moved in on this guy. Here's the story. The FBI has arrested Haroon Abdul Malik Yenner. Haroon Abdul Malik Yenner, alleging he wanted to set off a series of bombs in the United States. Quoting him, he says, I feel like bin Laden. Well, there you go. A Florida man has been charged in a bomb plot at the New York Stock Exchange. According to charging documents, Haroon Abdul Malik Yenner worked with several FBI informants and undercover employees, telling them that the stock exchange, we want to hit that because it will wake people up. Okay, so now how did they get this guy? So this is interesting. Let's go through the sort of forensics of how they got this guy. The investigation began in February of 2024, so just last February, when the FBI received a tip about Yenner storing bomb-making schematics in an unlocked storage unit in Coral Springs, Florida. A search of the unit found numerous electronic watches with alarm and timer features and various electronic circuit board components. All right, so in February of 2024, the FBI gets a tip from somebody, an anonymous tip. They say, hey, this crazy dude, he's building bombs in a storage space. So the FBI goes, okay, we're going to check them out. They look at them for a little while, and then they decide they're going to get a warrant to go see what's inside this storage space. They can do that now because of the Patriot Act. There's all kinds of things that they can do that you people were all okay with, and in this case, I'm okay with it as well. But when they use those things against us, that's where I get a little. So the FBI decides, okay, we're going to get a warrant. We're going to go look through his stuff. He's not going to know we're looking through this stuff because we're not going to tell him. They looked through all of his stuff. They found significant evidence to suggest to them that he was actively engaged in a plot to attack the New York Stock Exchange. So they closed everything up. They put everything back the way it was, and they said, okay, we got this guy. Now let's introduce some people into his life. And I love this because this is the stuff that we always see play out in television shows and films when the FBI is like, okay, you're going to wear this mustache and you're going to be a Saudi Arabian diplomat. And, all of these cool FBI get the cosplay stuff. So that's what they did to this guy. The FBI introduced undercover employees to Yenner shortly after the search of his storage facility. These individuals portrayed themselves as supporters of his plan. He tasked them with various assignments to get explosive materials. So the FBI sent him a bunch of FBI agents pretending to be guys that wanted to blow up the New York Stock Exchange. And then he was like, all right, gang, like he's Danny Ocean, right? He's got all of these guys. He's feeling pretty good about himself. They're all FBI agents, every one of them. You're going to get me the explosives. Can you get the explosives? I sure can, boss. That's funny. That's how they took him down. FBI man tries to blow up the New York Stock Exchange. Texas schools last week. A lot of news about Texas schools and stuff like that going on around these parts. Last week we told you about the plan to introduce the Jesus stuff to all the kids kindergarten through 5th grade here in the state of Texas. Public schools will now have a new curriculum that includes aspects of Christianity and the Bible and stories and all that kind of stuff. When we first reported that, it had only been suggested and it was on its way to a vote. We have that vote. Texas Education Board approves Bible-infused curriculum for elementary schools. You want to know what I just did there? I just did what I accused the talking heads on television of doing all the time to our detriment, and that is conveniently leaving out certain things. Why? Because I could get a better reaction from you if I read the headline, Texas Education Board approves Bible-infused curriculum. Texas Education Board approves Bible-infused curriculum. Caller, you're on the air. Let me tell you something, man. This is making me nuts. Caller, you're on the air. I just want to say that Jesus back in schools is a glorious achievement. Again, Texas Education Board approves Bible-infused curriculum. The actual headline, I'll read it to you the way it actually reads. Texas Education Board approves optional Bible-infused curriculum for elementary schools. It's optional. It's now, here we go. Ready for the next level? Yes, the schools, the individual schools do not have to take, they can choose the option of saying, no, we don't want to use the Bible-infused curriculum. But, of course, the state is then like, okay, well, then you ain't getting the money. And every public school in the state of Texas needs money. So the state of Texas is offering $60 per student in your school district. So they'll count up all your students and you'll get $60 for every head and a nice little check to, I don't know, buy your new scoreboard. Maybe your football team needs uniforms. Hell, maybe you need to hire a new math teacher full-time. So maybe you need to fix the air conditioning. So every school, it's optional, but every school is going to take it because they can't take, they got to use the money. It's, it's the lesser of two evils. The good you can do with the money, if you think this is not the right choice and you were a superintendent of a district in Texas that was going to opt out of this, you can't. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you, as a superintendent of X number of children, can be taken seriously if in this moment you take a position of this isn't right and I am not going to accept it. We will be opting out of it when you can do good with that money. I think you can do more good with more money for your school. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a trick. It's a bastard of a trick that the state is pulling on these school districts. But whatever. You know who had an incredible point of view on this? And I'd love for you folks to spend a little bit more time checking him out. The other day, I was listening to my boy James Parker over on WBAP 93.3 every afternoon, 2 to 5. He had a really great take on this. So great that in the commercial break, I called him and I said, dude, that's great. You just did some great talk radio. And he was like, oh, thanks, Pugs. And I'm like, no, that was great. His whole thing was, why not have it be an elective? And he went one step further that I thought was really cool. He said, why can't the school districts offer this curriculum as an elective, but also include, a whole bunch of other religions, Judaism, aspects of the Torah, dare I say it, because James certainly did on BAP, Islam, some aspects. His whole take on it was It's the people, and I believe this too, it's the people who ruin religion and faith. It's the individuals and how they utilize their practice of their faith that ruins it for a lot of people. The faith itself is a good thing. In the spirit and the stories that are in all of these religions, they're not all, if a woman holds hands with a boy, we must stone her. They're not all that. These are all moralistic teachings. Like, for instance, first grade or kindergartners. Kindergartners in the state of Texas, school districts who opt into this Bible-infused curriculum, kindergartners will be taught the golden rule. Do unto others. It's a biblical thing. But as I said the other day, who's got a problem with that? I mean, I don't give a shit if it's biblical. I don't care if it's from Lord of the Rings, okay? I'll tell you, I got the golden rule and I got the silver rule. The golden rule comes from the Bible. The silver rule that I live my life by comes from Planet of the fucking Apes, okay? So it doesn't matter where the message comes from. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. My silver rule, ape, don't kill ape, from, of course, Planet of the Apes. It doesn't matter where your source is. And by the way, I don't take it so literally. What I mean when I make that my silver rule, I mean man don't kill man. The whole idea of apes adopting that as their golden rule in Planet of the Apes was to show us that they are in fact superior to us, because they understand that murder against one of your own is the highest moralistic sin one can create. So look at that. Why don't we have some Planet of the Apes infused curriculum in Texas schools? Folks, it doesn't matter where the message comes from. If you're getting twisted simply because Christians are going to have messaging in your schools, don't be. They're good messages. Nobody's going to make your kid suddenly believe in Jesus. But if you know what, at 5 years old in kindergarten, if they could start walking around this world going, do unto others, that might be a good thing. So put your war sticks down and let's just see how this plays out. All right, so they've approved it. So Texas has approved. Texas Education Board approves optional Bible-infused curriculum for elementary schools. All right, what else do we have here? This story is kind of crazy. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned it again on Monday because they had struck a number of Milwaukee Bucks basketball players. This morning, all the major sports leagues, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and even the NHL, which is so cute because the NHL is like, guys, we want to be involved too. Okay, NHL, come on, you're a real sport. Come on. All of these leagues sent out emergency messages to all of their players. Here, this one comes, this is the NFL side of it. The NFL has alerted team security directors and the players union about criminals targeting professional athletes' homes. The memo sent to all 32 teams stated that organized criminals are increasingly targeting these homes, including the burglaries last week of Kansas City Chiefs players Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Or last month, I'm sorry. The Athletic's Diana Rossini shared the memo on X. In it, the NFL specified that law enforcement officials have noted these groups appear to exploit team schedules to target athletes' homes on game days. The memo goes on to detail surveillance and methods of entry, social media recommendations, and home security recommendations. So here's basically all the leagues are warning their players right now, look, there's a crew that is working this country, and they seem to be moving all over the country, and they seem to be targeting the homes of high-profile athletes while they are on the road or while they are. So that's the deal. One of the things that I thought was most interesting that they really thought you should do is they warned players, NBA players, football players, they warned players against tweeting or using their social media to show when they're not home. You know what I mean? Like you know, you're an athlete and you're 50 miles away from home, you know, and you tweet out on Instagram, "Oh man, I'm having the best time staying at the resort out of town." You're like, don't do that. They're saying don't do that anymore because these people are following you, and they're like, "Oh, he's not home. Oh, he's over at the." This is gonna make a good movie. That's all I can think. This is gonna make an awesome movie because these aren't thugs. These aren't thugs who, from the hood, who 22-year-old, number one draft pick from the neighborhood, suddenly living large a couple of towns over, and these hoods from the old days show up and tie him to a chair and steal everything. This ain't that. By the way, what I just described to you was what happened to Antoine Walker in my hometown of Orland Park. He had this mansion, and because he lived in the south side of Chicago, and when he made his money, he bought a big mansion in Orland Park. And boys from his neighborhood, they broke into his house, tied him to a chair, beat him up, and stole everything. Now, those were just small-time stupid thugs who got caught. Because Jesus, Antoine recognized half their voices. It was like, I know who did it. So they all went to jail. No, not these guys. These guys, the FBI thinks these guys are a real professional crew who are flying around the country and stalking out players. And I'll say it again, how cool of a movie is that going to make? It's going to make a good movie. All right, athletes being targeted. Okay, yeah, this will be a good one. All right, let's talk about this for a little bit. So, hold on. What? A lot of people are talking about fluoride. Fluoride. Apparently, RFK Jr. is going to take fluoride out of our water. First mentioned this last week, I think, when we were talking about RFK Jr. and some of his kooky ideas. And I believe, because this is a stream of consciousness rant where I say whatever is next in my head in the moment, I may have said something to the effect of, "Oh, come on! Stop with the damn fluoride! It's fine! We've had fluoride in water!" Well, the story won't go away. The story won't go away, and I can't avoid it. And I read an awful lot of news every day and watch an awful lot of news every day in order to do this stupid show. And let me tell you something. Let me demonstrate something for you, something that I've advocated for years and years since I've been on the radio. I changed my mind. Changed my mind completely. From whatever my rant was last week about just what the fluoride is fine. I've changed my mind completely. Do you want to know why? Oh, what's that? Are some of you small-minded people, some of you freaking morons, are you going, flip-flopper, look at me change his mind? Like, that's always been a political cry for like 30 years. Whenever somebody evolves on an issue, they're a flip-flopper. Like it's admirable to learn something on one day and go, I shall never learn anything more about this. Like, that's what people are saying when they call you a flip-flopper. People don't flip-flop. People get new information. People get educated and then go, oh, see, I was wrong back then. No, you weren't wrong back then. You believed it, and it was true. And now you're a flip-flopper, and we can't trust you. No, it's quite the opposite, actually. You can implicitly trust a person like that because they are always going to change according to what the facts are. So look at me. I've changed on fluoride. I've learned a whole lot about fluoride, and I'm a follow the science guy. I'm gonna listen to the guys in the jackets, and it's very easy to be dismissive of Robert F. Kennedy's fluoride concerns and his pledge to take it out of our water supply. We can just say, "Oh, isn't that the guy who left the bear in Central Park? Oh, isn't that the crazy wild guy who had worm brain or something?" It's very easy politically to be able to do that. But I've been reading the last couple of days all kinds of very impressive, very serious people saying the exact same thing. So not everything that Robert Kennedy says needs to be dismissed. There is a very real and very serious conversation happening about fluoride in our waters and how that relates to brain development. This conversation has been studied and discussed for 20 years by very serious people, not crackpots, serious people, to the point that federal recommendations to many water reclamation districts around the country has been to incrementally decrease the amount of fluoride because of these studies that are showing a potential link between excessive fluoride consumption and brain development. Now, how does those facts, those very heady, very complicated, smart people science facts, how does that translate into the modern political discourse? Like this: fluoride in the water makes you have a lower IQ. No, first of all, there is no way to make that determination because you don't know the IQs of people who aren't in your family or that you don't have control over. You don't just get to learn people's IQs, even if you are presenting this as some sort of fabricated government study. That's not how IQs work. Those are very personal, and most people don't even know their own IQs. Anyway, IQ, that's making people stupid. No, but there has been reasonable study and consistently built upon study over the last few years that suggests we need to really look into how much excessive fluoride over a lifetime affects brain development. Okay, that's all this is. Now, why is this all of a sudden becoming a thing? And why is it that fluoride's been around forever and we've never had a problem? I'll tell you, it's because fluoride was initially fluoridation of our water was done because it was believed that fluoride would be better for America's teeth. It would be better for the water would. What is fluoride? Fluoride is stuff that is naturally occurring in our body that gets washed away, that we lose. So if you put it in the water, you can constantly have, the fluoridation. For years, the American Dental Association was like, look at the teeth in 1970 compared to the teeth in 1950. I mean, it was a big difference. Fluoride in the water has cut like cavities and bad teeth and all of that by 85%. Okay, so fluoride in water does work for what it was initially introduced to do, which was to give Americans better teeth, stronger teeth, and all of that. So that was the whole purpose of fluoride in the water. Now, we live in a conspiracy age, so it's like, why are they putting stuff in the water? Dude, they put all kinds of stuff in the water. You want to go down there and you want to go public information, you can find out everything they're putting in the water. Go ahead. A lot of it. I don't know. Some of it's bad. I don't know. So you're saying that they're intentionally putting bad stuff in the water? Yeah, because the lizard people want to control your brain. See, that's where I break off from it. My difference is that I believe that all the shit that they have in the water, in our water reclamation districts, I believe that it's all in there because the best of intentions were there from the beginning. They're like, well, this will make this good. This will make that good. The difference between me and you is that you think they did it intentionally to control us because the lizard people told. Shut the fuck up. Sometimes you do something with the best of intentions and then years go by and you realize maybe this wasn't the best idea. Maybe the new science of the day has us thinking differently. So all around this country right now, townships, communities, states, they're all arguing and they're at each other's throats about fluoridation. The right, driven by the RFK crazy JFK Jr. is still alive and he's attending Trump rallies, driven by that 15%. They're all driving the get the fluoride out of the water bus. And because it's them, everybody on the left is going, they're crazy, they're kooks again. Give me more fluoride. This is insane. Problem is, in this case, those wackadoos on the right just so happen to have the science on their side because there is a very real and serious concern about fluoride. Why? Because when fluoride was first added to our water, we weren't getting fluoride anywhere else. In the years since, the products that Americans consume on a daily basis more than double the level of what is considered safe for fluoride. So if you're drinking water out of the tap, you're getting all of this fluoride, right? But I bet you also brush your teeth a couple of times a day. One brushing of the teeth contains an amount of fluoride that is equal to what you would drink in a week. Okay, so you see, fluoride wasn't added to toothpaste until about 20 years into the fluoride in the water. So now we've had about 25 years of humans ingesting 2 times the amount of fluoride that is specifically thought to be safe. Why? Because we're still getting it from the water. It was in the water because it wasn't anywhere else before, but we're still getting it from the water. But now we're also getting it in every toothpaste. Every time we brush our teeth, we're getting a week's worth of fluoride from the water. So yes, we are consuming now far more fluoride. And the studies are saying, we're seeing some real correlations between brain development in the last 20 years and people who have consistently consumed 2 times the safe amount of fluoride. So this is what I have learned. I don't know. So I changed my opinion. I thought, you know what? If the plan is, let's stop putting all of this fluoride in our water sources for a little bit, a moratorium, while we encourage all the scientists doing this work to push forward. You let us know when you figure out whether or not there is a direct correlation, and then, maybe we'll go back to it. And we're not losing anything. We're not losing anything now by taking the fluoride out of the water, because remember, we are still consuming more than enough fluoride in other ways. There are drinks have fluoride, food has fluoride, all kinds of crazy things. Breath mints have fluoride. Crazy things have fluoride, and we're getting it from everywhere now. And when they added it to the water, we weren't getting it. So we are getting too much. There you go. Just don't roll your eyes the next time you hear the fluoride conversation brought up, because reasonable people can look at the actual facts and go, you know what? The crazy guy who thinks JFK Jr. is still alive is actually right on this. And it's everyone else's response to it simply because those people said it. That's what's wrong with America. That's the divisiveness. Sorry, but you should be concerned about fluoride, because some very important, very reasonable, and mainstream people are, and they should be listened to. All right. Here's a word, soberish. Soberish is a word that's being thrown around. I saw this story. This was on, where did I get this from? I think I saw this on the Drudge Report. I don't typically use the Drudge Report, but I thought this was a funny article, or at least, at the very least, intriguing. Sober-ish. What is sober-ish? Well, more and more Americans are living their lives in what can be described as a sober-ish state. People aren't drinking anymore. People aren't smoking anymore. People aren't drinking in the way that they used to drink. I think that our society, our culture really in general, is more health conscious, or at least more aware of the things that we do on a daily basis that, really take the rubber off our tires. And drinking excessively every day, alcoholism, going out every night and getting wasted. That's something that is happening less and less with these generations as they mature. People are leaving parties earlier. People are leaving bars earlier. This new, younger generation is drinking far less than all previous generations. And it's they're calling themselves the soberish generation. I don't think it's a bad thing, right? Is being this comes from the Wall Street Journal. Let me see. We'll just give you a little touch of what they're talking about. Why is everyone suddenly soberish? More people are entering the holidays. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it's about the holidays. More people are entering the holidays with a mindful relationship with alcohol. It turns out it's not a total drag, and almost everyone is doing it. Everyone. I still know some drunks. It says, have you noticed your friends are a little less fun? That everyone leaves the dinner party earlier? That their stories are less wild or funny or revealing? This may be because so many people have decided to cut down on their drinking after a spate of ominous articles on how alcohol, even in moderate amounts, increases your risk of cancer. Now, that's what they're drawing this soberish movement to. And this again goes to the previous story on fluoride. The belief, the justification for, mama's glass of wine at night was always glass of wine keeps the cancer away, right? A glass of red wine every night. Responsible drink every now and then with alcohol, it does a body good. You'll be fine. Just don't overdo it. Yeah, none of that was true. Based on the new science, none of that was ever true. Any alcohol is always bad for the human body. It literally dries out your cells. It dries out your. You ever take alcohol on a cotton swab and put it on your arm and it immediately dries it, right? That's why when you wake up after a night of drinking, you're so thirsty. Oh my, that's what a hangover is. That's the alcohol fucking with your whole system. Sucking and drying out every cell for everything. That's what alcohol does. So it's not good for you. And younger people have adopted this new kind of lifestyle that they're calling soberish, which means that you're not going to give up drinking altogether, and you're certainly not going to be in league with alcoholics who can't drink. Soberish people just recognize that drinking is a special occasion thing, and they say the average soberish person, if they have an active social lifestyle, may have multiple drinks one time per week, typically on a weekend. They may have 1 or 2 glasses of wine throughout the course of the week with a dinner, sometimes none at all. So that's the soberish lifestyle. And I got to say, that's kind of how I've been living. Not intentionally, not because of, I don't know. I just kind of stopped like drinking for fun about when my son was born. That's really when it started. I mean, I was a party boy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I started partying at backyard keggers at 15, 16 years old. I was the life of the party. And then I got older and I was like, yeah, I don't like being that guy anymore. I like being a little bit more in control. I like operating with a buzz. I'll tell you one of the things I'm most proud of, and my son has said this on multiple times. He says, I've never seen you drunk. Kind of makes me proud. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I grew up in an Irish Catholic family. I've seen every grown-up in my family shit-faced, right? So, that's just kind of how it is. But I was very proud of the fact that my kid's like, yeah, I've never seen you drink. And he knows I drink. I got a bottle of, thank you, April. I've got my morning bottle. April, when Kelly passed away, April brought me a bottle of Jameson, Black Barrel, the good stuff, because she's the best. It was my morning bottle. A morning bottle is an Irish tradition where if somebody close to someone dies, you give them a bottle of their favorite. And every night they're supposed to have a drink from that bottle and think about the person. It's how you mourn, right? But it's also how you're able to compartmentalize and then go out in the world and do everything else you need to do during the day. You set aside that time from the morning bottle and you pour yourself a drink and you drink from that. And it's in that moment that you mourn every day. And when the bottle is gone, your mourning period is over. That's kind of. So my morning bottle for Kelly was given to me by April. And this ought to give you an idea of how much I drink, even when it's a traditional kind of morning bottle drink. I just finished the morning bottle on Saturday during the UFC fights. That was it. And Kelly's been dead months. So I don't really drink that much. Now, if we all go out and we have a good time, we'll get drunk. I'm not, and that's what other people are seeing too. They don't want to be buzzkills. Like they don't want to be, no, I don't drink. So if they're out, they'll have the drink, but just not the way they used to. I don't know. I think this is good. And I wonder if this has anything to do with legalization of marijuana in the fact that the younger generation seems to be more comfortable with marijuana than they are with alcohol, which I am all for. I'm like, thank you. That is called progress, where an entire generation shifts from their vice being something that was much more dangerous for them in the previous generation to something that they enjoy even more that is actually less harmful to them. So maybe that has something to do with the soberish lifestyle too. When you can take 2 puffs off a vape in the back of a bar, listening to the band, and you just relax and be smiley. Maybe you don't need to be doing shots at the bar. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not young. But anyway, there you have it. Soberish. It's a fad. This is a funny story. I call this Deer Vengeance. Michigan. I don't know how familiar you folks down here are with Michigan. I'm a Great Lakes boy, born and raised. So, I've had a few, more than just a few run-ins up there in the great state of Michigan, Wisconsin. First of all, I don't understand why we have two states. I think that should just be one giant state. It should be Michigan, Wisconsin. There you go. That's it, Wisconsin. I don't think there's a reason that the Upper Peninsula of Michigan needs to exist. That should just be like, again, Wisconsin. One of the things about Wisconsin is hunting. I know you folks down here in Texas are into hunting. I know you like your hunting, and you can get some good. Hell, Texas isn't a state. It's a damn region. There are certainly places that do good hunting, and I don't know what the deer hunting is like down here. But in Wisconsin, let me tell you something, deer hunting, elk hunting, all of that shit. I mean, those states are just basically forests. They're just forests with Milwaukee dropped in the middle of one and Detroit dropped in, the side of the other. So a lot of deer hunting. It's very, very serious. Well, deer hunting season is in full effect. And let me tell you, folks, this year, the deer are winning. At least. 5. In the first 2 weeks of opening deer season, 5 Michigan hunters have all died while out there. And not died from shooting each other, died from trying to handle the deer. So they shoot the deer, and then, okay, so here, this one's funny. This is funny. I know it's sad. It's sad for the family, but really, just when you picture this is kind of funny. So these two dudes, one was 54 years old, the other was 63 years old. They were out there in the Michigan woods, and they're hunting, and bam, they got it. They got the buck, a big old buck. They were very proud. They run out to it, and they're like, let's get it. And they grab it by the, paws. What is that, paws? I don't know what that is. Grab them by whatever we call those things. And they begin to drag the deer. They begin to drag this giant buck deer through Wisconsin, deep woods back to their truck. Both of them suffer fatal heart attacks while trying to pull the deer. Just picture that. Here's how I would direct that scene. I would have an above camera, and we would see a perspective of these two men struggling to tear this, and then we would see them both drop. To me, I think that's kind of funny. I'm not a hunter, so I don't, I always root for the deer. 5 of them, 5 people have died of heart attacks in Michigan, let's be fair. In Michigan these past 2 weeks of deer season because of heart attacks, massive heart attacks. Are you following the story of this white trash dirtbag Norwegian royal? Do you even know they have royals in Norwegia? Friggin' Ouijies. Do they call it is it Norwegian Royal Cruise Line, or is it Norwegian Cruise Line and then there's a Royal, I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway, there's like royal people in Norwegia. And one of the royals of Norwegia, and actually he's not even a royal. That's why I call him, he's like a white trash dirtbag, sort of like almost royal. I'll tell you the story. Norwegian royal Marius Borg Høiby, son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, arrested on suspicion of rape. Marius Borg Høiby, and again, this dude spells his name with a letter, and this is what happens when we get up there in Norwegia. This guy spells his name with a letter that I do not recognize from the English alphabet. I do not know what a 0 with a line through it is. I don't know, but that's like the second letter in the dude's last name. The dude's name is Høiby. I guess that's got to tell me how I'm supposed to pronounce that O, right? His last name is H. O with a line through it, I-B-Y. I don't have no idea what they're going for there. Anyway, he's 27 years old. He's the son of Norway's crown princess. He was arrested in Oslo on suspicion of rape. Marius Høiby, the son of Norway's crown prince. Here's why I say he's kind of trash. Are you ready for this? All right, check this out. Marius Høiby, the son of Norway's crown princess, from a relationship prior to her marriage to Crown Prince Haakon has been arrested on suspicion of rape. Maybe this is why we didn't know the Norwegians had a royal family, because they are trash. They are not at all like how hot, like, come on. Could you imagine this in the British royal family? Let me work this through you. The heir to the throne, the heir apparent, Crown Prince Haakon of Norway, was allowed to marry a woman who got knocked up by another guy and was dragging that kid around. That would never have flown in the UK. They're like, no, that's something that, like, teenagers in central Indiana do. That is not something that the royal family of Norwegia. And then they let him go around. Apparently he's a big celebrity in Norway, this guy who's accused of rape. He's not even a real royal. His mom, here's the thing, his mom's probably a freaking smoke show. You want to know how I think this went down? I think there was a smoke show chick in Norway who got knocked up by a dude and had a kid. And she's like, I'm a single mom, but she's a hot single mom. She's like, I'm a hot single mom. So the kid, when the kid is, kid's being babysitted by grandma, the hot single mom's got to support herself. So I bet she was a cocktail waitress. I bet she was a cocktail waitress at some hot club, and Crown Prince Haakon came in, and he's like, holy shit. And now he's made her crown princess merit, except she's dragging some, some bastard kid. Now he's out there running the streets because he's, royal family now, and he's raping. 27-year-old was taken into custody on November the 18th in Oslo and is currently in detention in Greenway. This according to a release shared by the Oslo Police District, which stated Marius was arrested for an alleged incident that occurred on November the 6th involving sexual intercourse with someone who is unconscious or, for other reason, is unable to resist the act. Expanding upon this charge, police noted that in this case, the alleged rape concerned sexual intercourse without intercourse. The victim is said to have been unable to resist the act. Okay, so we know what this is. He got a girl drunk. She got drunk. He didn't have sex with her, but he put his balls in her mouth or something. He did one of those things, the kinds of things that dudes do to other drunk dudes, when they're drunk. Put your balls on his forehead, stuff like that. Did he put it in her mouth while she was passed out? That's, I think, what they're getting at here when they say, expanding upon this charge, police noted that in this case, the alleged rape concerned sexual intercourse without intercourse. Okay, so it's that Clinton, I did not have sex with that. Okay, whatever. We know what went down. We get it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This reminds me of a situation. You people suck. You people. Do any of you guys remember the very, very early days of the Pugs and Kelly show here in Dallas? Not when we were on overnights. We were in middays. It was the first week that we had moved down here. And I was running around and right out, you may remember this. I met a girl and I referred to her on the air as Mrs. Green Jeans. And I don't know why we called green jeans, because what I was referring to was she was wearing green leather pants when I met her. And she was really hot. I'm like, oh, man. So, and this was our first week here in town. And I'm on the air and I'm talking about, yeah, Mrs. Green Jeans, because all the listeners, you guys all came out to this appearance and I met this girl and all that. And so people were like, hey, who's that chick you were talking to? And I'm like, Mrs. Green Jeans. So anyway, I told the story about Mrs. Green Jeans. I ended up dating her a little bit. We went out for a little while. But we later we went out and I told a story and about how I'd gone out with Mrs. Green Jeans. Oh, what'd you do last night? I went out with Mrs. Green Jeans. And Kelly's like, how's that going? I'm like, she's it's going. She's cool. It was just the second or third day. I'm like, she's cool. And Kelly's like, so have you had sex with her yet? And that started a story. And again, some of you may remember this story, the story of Mrs. Green Jeans. And it was wild. The phones went nuts. I mean, it was a really good segment. And the segment consisted of this dilemma. We had gone back to my place. She was a little intoxicated. We were being romantic, as people are, me and Mrs. Green Jeans. And she fell asleep. I got up to do something. And I came back and she fell asleep. and she was sleeping there naked. She was sleeping. And that's what I told to Kelly. So Kelly said, "So have you slept with her yet?" And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of so I don't know." And we started talking about whether or not I had slept with her yet. And it came down to this. I said, before we did anything, serious, and she fell asleep. She was drunk. She passed out. And then Bobby, our producer, said, "So, I mean, you finished the job?" And I said, and this is in 2001, I said, "No, she was asleep." Every single one of you blew up the phones. I was shocked. Every single one of you was like, "Oh, you totally got to do it, man. You got to fucking just put it in her. She's passed out. Hey, she's already said she's okay with it. That's why she's there. Snake it in your bed, right?" And I remember being absolutely appalled by that. And again, it was 2001. We were on after Howard Stern. We were on before Russ Martin. I'm like, that's that fucking sicko attitude. Although I wouldn't say that would ever be Howard Stern's attitude. I think you would probably be like me. You don't have sex with somebody who is passed out, okay? I don't care if it's 2001 and it's me, a DJ in town for the first time, or it's 2024 and you're the crown prince of Norway, okay? You just don't do it. Sorry, guys. I know it sucks. Blue balls are a thing, but it's part of being a man. All right, there you go. Adam says, "Yeah, because Prince Andrew is completely normal." No, of course he's not. Nobody in that family is normal. And I'm not saying there's any degree of normalcy. What I'm saying is the checks and balances and the rules seem to be a little bit more stringent with the UK royal family than with their Norwegian cousins, is all I'm saying. I mean, I don't think you should be able to be a crown princess. You can be a princess. You can marry a crown prince, but the English would never allow you to be a crown princess. Jesus Christ. I mean, what was, trying to think of what, although, what is the official title of Camilla? Is it queen? Is it queen consort? Is it her royal highness? Is she a royal highness? Because remember, they were married before. And that would usually mean that you can't be an heir to the throne. You can't be a high royal. You can be married to a high royal and you can walk around going, "I'm the queen," but you're a lesser queen, right? Queen Elizabeth was not a lesser queen. She was the sovereign. She was the high ranking. But what is Prince or King Charles at this point, the sovereign King Charles? What is King Charles' wife? Second wife. We know Diana. Diana was a crown princess. Diana was his first wife. She gave birth to the heir apparent to the crown and William. That was Diana, but that was the first wife. The second wife is divorced and there's all kinds of problems. I don't know, whatever. That's what I meant when I said that, that's the difference that I meant between the Norwegians. They don't seem to have any rules in Norwegia. They're like, "Yeah, well, whatever. She got knocked up. How many kids she got? 3 by 2 different dudes? All right, let's make her the crown princess. Let's make sure that the history books 1,000 years from now put her as one of the." Just seems a little bit, shall we say, loose. Seems a liberal. How about that? Just a little liberal. Yeah, whatever. She's fine. Richard Gere is in the news. Richard Gere. We just, God, we're losing all our worst, aren't we? We lost Ellen and Portia. Quite frankly, I'm not so upset about losing Ellen as I am about Portia. I really love Portia de Rossi. I think that she is so cool. She's so funny. She's so smart. So sexy, too. But, whatever. Anyway, I'm more upset about that. But now we got Richard Gere. Apparently, Richard Gere, he's going to Spain. He's moving to Spain. He don't like the whole Trump thing, so he's moving to Spain. Fuck you, Richard. Good. Oh, must be nice, Mr. Rich Guy. You can just do whatever you want. You're like, I'm just going to chuck everything and move to Spain. Oh, you're so cool. Fine. Don't come back. You know what? You're old. You're going to be dead anyway soon. You'll never come back. You'll die in Spain. Enjoy that. Enjoy dying in Spain, Richard Gere. What else do we have? Jason Kelce is in the news today. Jason Kelce is he's getting a late night talk show. I think we talked about this at the very start of the show, didn't we? Jason Kelce and his late night talk show. Let's see. Let me give you the details here. Jason Kelce set to host late night TV show for ESPN. Oh, there you go. Okay, ESPN. So it's going to be okay that he's a big dumb jock meathead, because he is. He's a big dumb jock meathead. We like Jason Kelce because he's fun. But I've never seen anything out of Jason Kelce, and I've listened to the Heights. I'm familiar with the podcast. I don't think Jason Kelce is like this very erudite and smart and deep thinker of a guy. Seems like a nice guy, seems like a fun guy, seems like a good guy. Don't know that he is the guy that I would think would be able to handle a real talk show. But then again, it's 2024. There's no such thing as a real talk show. So whatever it is that ESPN is going to create for him, God bless. I got no problems with Jason Kelce. I just don't know that he's that interesting. Other than, fan favorite in Philadelphia, chugging beers in the box. Oh, he's also brother of that guy who's super famous for winning Super Bowls and dating Taylor Swift. I don't get, he's likable, but I'm like, really? What's so special about him exactly? Jason Kelce has conquered the podcast, commercial, and studio space of the media business. His third Christmas album is about to come out. It's clearly not enough to keep the former Philadelphia Eagles center off your screen. Next up, late night television. Kelce announced Thursday on Jimmy Kimmel Live that his debut as a late night variety show host will take place on ESPN airwaves in early 2025. The show, named They Call It Late Night with Jason Kelce, will air 5 consecutive nights. It says will air 5 consecutive Friday nights in January and coincides with the final week of the NFL regular season. This story doesn't mean what I thought it meant at all. I thought he was actually given a Monday through Friday late night talk show, and I was like, nah, he can't do that grind. There's nothing about Jason Kelce that suggests to me that he can do that kind of a grind. He might be one of the greatest offensive linemen of the last 20 years, but he ain't Jimmy Kimmel. That's a fucking hard thing to do. You think it's easy? They get in there at like 5 a.m. and then they don't leave until like 9 o'clock at night. So it's a very difficult job. Producers work even harder on those things. Cranking out a show like that every single day is not easy, is all I'm saying. It's not digging holes. It's not physically difficult, but it's time consuming, and it's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of people to deal with. So, it's a very serious job grinding out a talk show every single night for an hour. This I think he can do. See, now I think he can do it. They're saying he's going to do a 1-hour show every Friday for 5 weeks. That's easy. He can do that. That he can do. That I believe might be good. Okay, so good for you, Jason Kelce. I just don't know that he's going to be like 9 months into doing a show every night, and he's going to be like, I quit. Nope, I don't want to do this anymore. Johnny Carson was the most famous slacker of the talk show host. Johnny Carson famously just rolled in, did the show, and then rolled out. And also Johnny Carson famously took every other day off. But again, this was in the last 15 years of his career when he was already established. Talk to somebody. Have you ever heard Conan O'Brien talk about his day? What one day of Conan O'Brien when he was Conan O'Brien on NBC, what one day was like? Oh my God, it could choke a donkey. It was just, what time are you waking up? Really? What time does the car arrive? It's crazy. Anyway, cool for you, Jason Kelce. I have no animus towards you. I just didn't think you were up for doing a Monday through Friday network talk show. A couple other things we need to mention. How about this? What is going on? What is this? What is this story? Oh, hey, Daniel Jones. Talk a little football. Giants. I always tell you, I don't like to do exclusively sports talk. I do believe that I would be the best sports talker in America. However, I just think that would be boring to me, not to you. You'd love it. My sports takes are incredible. But to me, I'd be like, I gotta fucking talk about sports again. Can I talk about fluoride in the water? Can I get all excited about that? It's got to be sports. Fuck. All right, so we're going to do a little sports talk here. New York Giants, of course, I don't know if you're following what's happening with the New York Giants. It's absolutely hysterical. As a Cowboy fan, I'm a Bear fan. Like, that's my team. But my second team would be the Cowboys because of my son. It's his first team. Cowboys, love Cowboys. So, of course, we're Cowboy. So I don't like the Giants. Screw the G-men. I don't care about your history. Screw you guys. I'll tell you, the off-season Hard Knocks, where it was Hard Knocks offseason with the Giants, hysterical. It just showed what an absolute bumbling crew of buffoons they got running. They allowed cameras to capture them completely shit the bed on the Saquon Barkley free agency. They just allowed a camera to like show it all. Whatever. So the Giants are kind of funny. They're that's the other thing. They came into this season. What did they expect? Daniel Jones sucks. He shits the bed there again. What did they expect? They filmed on Hard Knocks off season, the whole off season. The Giants not committing to Daniel Jones. The whole thing was like, yeah, well, if we could get up to like one of the 3 picks, we'll take a new quarterback. But other than that, Daniel's our guy. It's like, okay. So Daniel Jones has got to watch this. He's got to watch his bosses going, all right, so they asked 5 girls to the prom and I'm the one that said yes. Is that how I'm supposed to feel? So the Daniel Jones experiment, it's not an experiment. I shouldn't marginalize it like that. It's going on, 5 years? This is not an experiment. So Daniel Jones is obviously not working out as the quarterback of the New York Giants. So they've got, they got some things. They got the very popular local boy, Tommy DeVito. Hey, what do you say? It's Tommy DeVito. I'm playing for the G-Men. He plays with the smoke dangling out of his lip. He's got a beer in his back. So you got Tommy DeVito. He's the 3rd stringer. But the real problem is that you got a guy named Drew Lock, who's also a quarterback. Drew Lock was brought in to be the backup, the emergency behind Tommy DeVito, or not Tommy DeVito, behind Daniel Jones, if Daniel got hurt or faltered or whatever. So that's the depth chart on the quarterback with the New York Giants. You've got Daniel Jones, followed by Drew Lock, followed by Tommy DeVito. Here's the problem. We're, 11 weeks into the season going on now? The New York Giants absolutely suck. I think they got 4 home games left. Nobody gives a fuck about the Giants. They got no quarterback. It's a garbage team. Yeah, they got a bunch of home games. So the Giants have made a decision that is incredibly not being well, they made a decision that's being taken very well by the meathead fan base who are now going to run out and buy tickets to these games and maybe buy new Giant jerseys for Christmas. The Giants have decided to bench Daniel Jones, which, nobody has a problem with. But then instead of going with the guy they brought in, Drew Lock, they are skipping over Drew Lock and they are going to Tommy DeVito, who is the local Italian guy who everybody loves the Giants. Hey, they ought to give Tommy a chance. Why? Because they figure they give Tommy about 3 or 4 games here in a row. He does something silly. He does something fun. They can start selling those Tommy DeVito jerseys for Christmas. Every little Goomba meatball in New York, give me a Tommy DeVito jersey. It's just another example of how freaking desperate the Giants are. The Giants skipped over their depth chart. Now, you might be thinking, well, Pugs, that's not that big of a deal. But it is. It actually is. And we're seeing something that we haven't really seen before when these things occur. And that is the benched Daniel Jones is talking shit on his team. He's like, what the fuck is this? He goes, how are you going to do? And then you're going to bench me. Okay, fine. You're going to bench me. But then you're just going to skip over the guy who has been my backup the entire season, who has been ready to step in every game. You're going to go with the guy who's been running the scout team for 17 weeks. That's the decision that you're making. And the New York Giants are such a train wreck. They're like, yeah, Daniel, that's the decision. Now, you might be wondering why. Well, it's for those reasons that I told you. They want to be able to build up this cult hero. They are going nowhere, and they know it. Right now, they got their fingers crossed, and they're like, this fucking kid, Tommy DeVito, throws a Hail Mary bomb to win 1 game, and we've got a cult hero on our hands. Let's go. We got nothing else going on in this town. At least the fans are going to be like, he's great. Of course, we know the truth is he's probably not going to be great. He's probably a 3rd-string quarterback for a reason, regardless of the fact that he's Tommy. But the real reason that the New York Giants, look, that's all just gravy for the Giants. The real reason that the Giants are doing this is for one of the most fucking scummy sports guy deals ever. It's because they know that Drew Lock, if they start playing, he's going to hit his escalators, and they're going to have to pay him like $20 million. They wouldn't do that. They're like, we're going to suck anyway. We're going to suck with Drew Lock. But if he gets in there and he plays for the next like 5 weeks, we're going to have to pay him the equivalent to the start. It was like some weird escalator deal that they thought they would never hit. So that's the whole reason. The New York Giants don't give a shit about winning. And they just care about saving a little bit of extra money and not having to pay Drew Lock. Drew Lock's agent's got to be going nuts. He's like, what the fuck? We're the backup. We signed that escalator deal because we thought there was a good chance that Daniel Jones wasn't going to pan out and that we would become the starter. And now you're just jumping over us because I'm Tommy DeVito. The NFL, man. The New York Giants are such, look, the East, right? With the exception of the Eagles. The Eagles look like they pulled themselves out of the ditch a couple of weeks back where like the Eagles are done. Now they look like they're fine. But the Cowboys and the Giants organizations, do they deserve each other or what? That rivalry deserves each other. All right, New York Giants. What else do we have? Ohtani, the best player in baseball. He got the MVP. National League, no surprises there. Was it Aaron Judge? Did Aaron Judge get the I think it is Aaron. Hold on, I gotta make absolutely sure. For some reason I don't know why I didn't care about Judge. I only cared about Ohtani, but my bet would be Aaron Judge won the MVP in the Yep, there you go. Okay. Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge enter the annals as unanimous MVP. Unanimous MVPs, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate you being with me today. I know we had a long day. It's 4:00 already, right? Look at us. We had a bit of an interruption earlier. That was gave us about an hour and a half delayed start. But I think I delivered. I appreciate you. Thank you again to our executive producer, the one and only, the great Peter, who actually had a piece of art built for our studio that we'll be displaying here. Thank you so much, Peter, our exec producer. If you want to be the exec producer for Monday's show, all you got to do is be the top tipper of the day. You can do that by visiting any of those sites there, Venmo or Cash App. We would appreciate it if you support this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, just regular talk radio. I don't care about how you voted. We're going to talk about MAGA versus libtards. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. I don't care. I hate it all. Talk radio for normal people every Monday through Friday, starting about noon on the Radio Misfits Network, radiomisfits.com. We are Radio Misfits Dallas. I am Pugs Moran. I want you to have a great weekend. I love you all. See you Monday. Bye.